Denver was already going to be the team that we probably talked about a lot. The narrative that has developed around the situation Denver finds itself in is so fascinating to me. Because there are going to be games next year with Utah football where we're like, yeah, the backup quarterback is going to have to start this one. And every one of us is going to be like, okay, cool. That's fine. We've seen what that looks like. That's Bert Ficklin. I guess I'm making some assumptions that Devin Dampier is going to be the starter again. I believe he will be the starter again. But I guess I'm making some assumptions that his growth outpaces Bert Ficklin's growth. In any case, when QB2 has to take snaps or start for the University of Utah next fall, we're all going to feel okay with it. We're all going to talk about how, the offense might look a little bit different, but there's some things that could be better with QB2 in there. That is not a conversation you typically have when we're talking about the NFL. In the National Football League, there are 12 teams who don't even have a QB1, much less a QB2, that can win them football games. And nobody has what we're getting from the Denver Broncos in an AFC Championship weekend, no less. Nobody has a situation in NFL football where they're like, oh, your starter went out on a fluke play at the very, very end of the divisional round. A devastating, season-ending, oh my gosh, how are we going to overcome this type moment? Nope. Instead, people are just like, yeah, Jarrett Stidham, Stiddy, we love him. He's going to be able to do this. He's fine. He's great. The conversation about his abilities and his confidence and the team's belief in him and the coach's belief in him is one of the more fascinating things we've seen in NFL playoff football in recent memory. Jarrett Stidham is 6'3", 215 pounds. He's coming up on his 30th birthday this August. He's 29 years old. He has never really been a full-time, bona fide, I can win you a bunch of football games starter in the NFL. He did not play at all in the 2021 season. He did not play at all. Yeah, okay, the 2021 season was the only one he didn't play in. He played 3 games in 2023, 3 games in 2024, 3 games in 2025. He completed, in the last 3 seasons of NFL football, he completed a grand total of 40 passes. And guess how many of those were in 2025? You don't have a guess for me? The answer is 0. Guess how many he completed in 2024? NFL passes. I told you the 3-year total is 40. In 2024, he completed 0 passes. In 2023, he was 40 of 66 over 3 games. 496 yards, 7.5-yard average, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a long of 54. He was also sacked 7 times in those 3 games, playing for the Denver Broncos in 2023. You see what I did? This is me saying he got 40 completions over the last 3 years is very similar to what everyone was talking about with Cam Calhoun in the transfer portal this year, where they gave a bunch of stats and said over the last 2 seasons, all they did was give his Utah stats and ignored the fact that he didn't compile anything at Alabama and said, this guy's done this the last 2 seasons. That's what I just did with Jarrett Stidham. 40 completions on 66 attempts 2 years ago. 2 seasons ago. He's thrown no passes. Not only did he not complete any passes in 2024 and 2025, he didn't throw any. And the fact that there are people whose jobs it is to tell you what's going to happen in NFL football games, how things are going to happen in NFL football games, the fact that there are more than one individual out there going, I think that Jarrett Stidham is going to be just fine. I'm just as confident in the Broncos with Jarrett Stidham as with Bo Nix. Is one of the biggest insults I've ever seen to Bo Nix. What are you talking about? Jarrett Stidham is going to be equal to or some even rough approximation of Bo Nix. The man hasn't thrown a pass in 2 seasons in live action. 2024, 0 of 0. 2025, he only played in 1 game. He threw 0 passes. He completed 0 passes. He ran the ball 1 time for -1 yards. And look, it doesn't mean he's a bad football player. Being on an NFL roster means that you are dang good. And being the backup for anyone in the NFL at the quarterback position is one of the best jobs you can get in America. For 1 rush in 1 game for -1 yard so far, I'll give you $1, James, if you can tell me how much you think Jarrett Stidham is making from the Denver Broncos this year, having completed 0 passes so far and rushed the ball 1 time for -1 yards in the 2025 season.
You're taking Jarrett Stidham's dollar and giving it to me?
How much do you think he is being paid to be the backup quarterback for the Denver Broncos, knowing that his usage so far is 0 passes completed on 0 attempts, 1 rushing attempt for -1 yards? What do you think that means he's being paid in Denver?
Probably. It's crazy, but probably over $1 million. Probably like $1.2 million.
I'm sorry, but you're well off. Jarrett Stidham is currently on a $12 million contract over 2 years. He's making $6 million. Denver Broncos.
I was thinking per year. That's way more per year than I thought. Yeah.
Denver Broncos. Hey guys, here's the thing. I can get you one rush for -1 yards. I can do that for you. I promise you. If you want to pay me $6 million. And I get it. I'm being reductive here. I'm probably coming off as trashing a guy who doesn't deserve to be trashed. But it is absolutely bananas that the conversation around this particular game is not swaying more heavily in New England's favor. They're 4.5-point favorites, the Patriots. It's wildly dismissive of the contribution that Bo Nix has had to Denver's season and to their turnaround in general. It is too much confidence in Sean Payton's ability to win with backup quarterbacks. It's too much of a statement towards, we think that he's he's just a much better coach right now than Mike Vrabel. Weirdly enough, I'm probably rooting for Denver, maybe for the first time in my life, because the lesser of two evils here, I think, is a team with a bunch of former Utes on it. But it makes little to no sense for me that there's not even mild panic around the fact that your backup quarterback has to go win you the AFC Championship game.
That's got to be Sean Payton. A couple of things with Sean Payton. One, supreme confidence in his coaching abilities, and particularly in his ability to coach quarterbacks, and he's earned that, right? 2, trying to fabricate confidence for his team, right? And his quarterback, who, like you said, has had barely any experience. But here's the other thing about it with Jarrett Stidham. No experience, hasn't thrown a pass in how long, you said? 2 years?
Yeah.
He's also a guy who's been so highly desired by his former teams that he has been paid not quite $6 million a year, but he's been paid way more than any other than most backup quarterbacks, but has never been used. Like, he was very well thought of at New England by Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels when McDaniels was the coordinator there before this stint. And then McDaniels still thought of him so highly that he brought him with him to Vegas, signed him as a free agent to be the backup quarterback to a good backup quarterback free agent deal, and then so highly thought of by both coaching staffs that he's been under, the Nathaniel Hackett coaching staff and now the Sean Payton coaching staff in Denver, that they've paid him handsomely for a backup quarterback. But it makes you wonder if he's that highly thought of, how come he's never been a starting quarterback anywhere. But it also makes you wonder, it makes you think he's got to have some ability. If all of these coaches, it's not just the Patriots guys, every coach that's had him wants him on the team, willing to pay him way more than you need to pay a backup quarterback.
And look, maybe I probably am wrong. This could be a situation, all right, looking at it from the opposite side, this could be a situation where the folks who are actually around him know that all it's going to take is an opportunity, timing, the right fit, good health, et cetera, et cetera. There's a possibility of that. You hear teammates, former teammates, jumping on First Take and going on ESPN radio shows and NFL Network and saying, hey, man. Because, of course, the first question is, can they do this with Jarrett Stidham? And a lot of people, players that know him, college teammates, stuff like that, are just like, you don't realize he is a confident dude. Doesn't carry himself like a backup, prepares like a starter. If we're going to link this to Utah football, you go back to the apocrypha stories of Cam Rising when he was running scout team, and everybody was just like, dude, because back in those days in the transfer portal, he came from Texas. He had to sit out as a non-grad transfer. And you would talk to defensive players who'd be like, man, he might be the best quarterback we have on the roster. He can't play right now, but he kills us in scout team. And by the way, that means he's doing it with lesser players. If Jarrett Stidham is out there taking no reps because backups get virtually no reps during season, NFL practices, the time, they're all collectively bargained now. Jeff Schwartz has told us this. Mike Yam has told us this. There's just not a lot of time for, once the season begins, anybody except for the starter to be getting reps. So whatever Jarrett Stidham is doing, he's kind of doing of his own volition on his own time, throwing on air, stuff like that probably. But there's still this confidence in his ability. Maybe it is one of those cases where players around the league, his teammates, people who played against him, were just like, just watch. Just wait when he gets his real opportunity. But you go back to what you were just saying. I mean, he's thought of highly by these coaches, and Sean Payton is a quarterback guru of sorts. So, yeah, I want to keep you around, and we're going to give you the money necessary to keep you around, but I don't want to use you at all. And that's just how it is in the NFL. It's not college football. You don't pull the starters during blowouts necessarily. The quarterback is so protected anyway. Blowouts are so uncommon in NFL football. Jarrett Stidham's not getting garbage time reps in games. He's not getting reps at all in games. He has not thrown in a game. And if all you're doing is propagandizing and selling a bill of goods to give everyone confidence, well, it all comes out in the wash when you play. But if you're that confident in Sean Payton's abilities to overcome the loss of a starting quarterback in a conference championship weekend, this is playoff football. It is a very, very unique week of conversation we've been listening to surrounding these upcoming NFL playoff games, because a lot of people think Seattle and LA are very closely matched. A lot of people think that the Bo Nix, Drake May matchup that we could have, potentially were expecting, that is not coming to fruition, was kind of like changing of the guard here. Who's going to be the next whomever? And instead you get Jarrett Stidham, and nobody's blinking about it, and I feel like I'm in crazy town.
Well, we're so prone as sports fans, and unfortunately a lot of sports media commentators in particular are so prone to if the team has credibility, right? And with the Broncos certainly do, especially now with Sean Payton and them having the number 1 overall seed. And their messaging comes off as confident, we just buy into it, right? And unfortunately, like, it wasn't that long ago that people in the media in particular were like, okay, fine, you feel that way, but I think it's fair to question this, like you're doing in the opening segment here, OC. But at a national level, not just local level, not just here, us being externally talking about this, not being in the Denver market. And that helped people have a healthy skepticism over something that we should have a healthy skepticism of. And I don't know that I think those days have kind of been gone, unless it's something like as a organization that is dysfunctional as like the Jets or the Browns, and we just always question. But with the Broncos, they qualify as one of those where you're like, hey, they're putting out this message of confidence, so everyone's just like, okay, fine. I guess we should be confident about Jarrett Stidham. It's like, no, we probably shouldn't be. Let's just see what happens.
I mean, I have thrown as many NFL passes in the last 2 years that Jarrett Stidham has. You driving in your car right now, you have the exact same number of passing attempts in the last 2 years that Jarrett Stidham has.
I have the exact same number of passing attempts in organized football in my life as Jarrett Stidham has.
It's an absolutely insane thing where, I mean, I'm watching the Pat McAfee show right now, right? And on the bottom ticker that scrolls along, the SeatGeek ticker that they have that's just kind of like keeping you there's a quote about how, hey, man, Jarrett Stidham's really good from the pocket. How the bleep do you know? You haven't seen him there for 2 years.
Exactly what I'm trying to say. Pat McAfee is one of those national media members who just, if it sounds confident, I'm going with it.
I love it. I mean, I love it and I hate it, because if this were my team, right, if the San Francisco 49ers had not completely pooped the bed against the Seattle Seahawks and were in a position here, but they were in that position without Brock Purdy, and you were using your backup quarterback in the conference championship weekend, I would be like, oh, it's Mac Jones. We saw him play a lot of football this year, and he was pretty darn good. All right, we're going to be fine. But that's not the case. That's not what we're talking about. If that were the scenario, if Jarrett Stidham had kept you on playoff pace while Bo Nix was licking some wounds during the regular season, I would be totally here for it. I'd be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Sean Payton must have, like, bad photos of people that he's like, hey, man, send this message out that we're just fine, that I'm good enough to overcome this, or I'm going to let everyone know about that Halloween party a few years ago.
Not that Halloween party.
The last 3 or 4 days, I've just been watching everyone just be like, yeah, Broncos, and wow, they're going to be fine, though. I get it. The Broncos lean more on their defense than these other teams that are remaining in the conference championship weekend. The Broncos have generated a lot more turnovers than most of these teams. The Broncos, though, in the playoffs have been pass heavy. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Call Garrett Bowles right now, James, and we're going to somehow make him tell the truth about how confident he is about Jarrett Stidham being able to win. Like, you go through these games and you go through these practices and you go through an entire season relying on a person. And the quarterback position is the most important in all of team sports. We've talked about that ad nauseum. But even if it weren't the quarterback, right? Even if we were talking about Garrett Bowles being out for this game, there would be more conversation about how problematic, how damaging that could be for the Denver Broncos than what we're hearing about Bo Nix being gone. What did Bo Nix do to have people think like, oh, he's a non-factor? Him being absent doesn't really affect this team all that much. Your defense in Denver is awesome. It's not that awesome that you don't have to worry about whether or not your quarterback can throw passes. Anyway, I'll get off the soapbox there. Another thing that's really fascinating to me about conference championship weekend, we talked all year long about how the Rams are playing on a pace and the Rams should be in a position to do exactly this, to punch a ticket to the Super Bowl and maybe not repeat, but do it again. Do you remember, if we go back to training camp, when the conversation around Matthew Stafford was whether or not he was going to be able to play this year because he was getting epidurals in his back like a woman in labor because he wasn't able to stand up. He couldn't put on his own pants. And now he's got his team on the brink of another Super Bowl. Toughness is not something that I typically index for on quarterback play because the rules protect quarterbacks. There's a lot of impact at virtually every other position in the NFL except quarterbacks. But Matthew Stafford, if his back problems have even been an echo of what they were in the offseason and he's just pushing through it and probably medicating his way through it, this is going to be, I mean, you can't call it comeback player of the year or anything like that, but if there's an award for just resilience and finding a way through, it might belong to Matthew Stafford, who is one of the favorites to be the MVP of the NFL this year. And again, the storyline in August was he's immobile right now. Pretty impressive what the Rams have been able to do. I begrudgingly will also be impressed with Seattle's accomplishment in getting here, but it's a little closer to home, so I can't be too effusive in the praise.
Yeah, also, you put on top of it that they cut Britton Covey before the season started, and yet they're here.
They somehow managed to survive cutting Britton Covey.
My goodness, like that's quite the thing to overcome too. No, I had one other thing with Jared Stidham, and then we can absolutely move on from it. But you think of like agents pushing quarterbacks to bet on themselves and like get that starting angle for the starting quarterback job too, right? It's weird that if he's that well thought of, that kind of a talent to be one of the 32 best quarterbacks, he's just a very handsomely paid backup for us. Why hasn't his representation and he himself pushed for, hey, yeah, get me to a place where I can be a starter then? Anyway, that's the other really interesting thing with Jared Stidham, and be an incredible story if they're able to beat the Patriots at home on Sunday. I think there's plenty of reason to doubt, just like you've been saying.
Let's see, 2025, I'm breaking down the salary here. Okay, $3 million signing bonus. So roster bonus of $500,000. So they prorated his signing bonus, which means the roster bonus and the signing bonus account for $2 million for him to do almost nothing this year. And his base salary is just under $2 million this year. His cap hit is about $4 million this year. And then the second half of this contract, the 2026 portion of this contract, is where the big cash comes in. But this is a guy who is just been laying in the weeds, apparently, and is the best kept secret in all of pro football, to where now the Denver Broncos are like, yeah, Jared Stidham's good. He's going to win us this playoff game. And he may very well do that, right? It could happen. Denver's a good team. They're a pretty complete team right now. Their offensive line has been playing all right. Their defense, if Nick Bonito and that defensive front can generate the havoc that we know they're capable of and rush the passer effectively and create a bunch of problems for New England, then hopefully, if you're a Denver fan, hopefully the quarterback situation is not even what I should be talking about right now. But you will not find in NBA playoffs, in NHL playoffs, or in NFL playoffs in any other year an injury of this importance being so cast aside, so dismissed, so ignored. Now watch, he's going to end up having like a 500-yard day, and I'm going to come on Monday. I have to come on Monday and be like, well, I was an idiot for doubting. We probably won't. You might. All right, we got to take a break here. Andy Larson's going to join us at noon. We'll talk a little jazz with him. Ben Kerr, the former UVU All-American who has a movie about his life premiering today. Ben Kerr, it's hard for me to even describe how impressive this guy is. Look him up if you haven't. UVU's first ever All-American wrestler. UVU's, he was, fourth at nationals. The guy is just an absolute inspiration. He was born with something called Cruzon syndrome, which is a craniofacial disorder. Changes the appearance, the development of your facial structure and your head and the bones and things like that. Ben and I, we were in high school at the same time. I saw Ben wrestling on the mats back in the high school days, and he was a 3-time state champion at Viewmont. And then he moved on to great success at UVU. He could have gone to Oklahoma. He decided to go to UVU because he wanted to stay close to family. He wanted his family to be able to see his collegiate wrestling career. And when he left UVU, he was the most accomplished, the most decorated, the most successful UVU wrestler in the program's history. Now there is a movie about his life. It's called Stand Out, the Ben Kerr Story. It's an Angel Studios thing. You can get tickets at standoutfilm.com. You can find listings. They're at the Megaplex theaters. They're at all the local theaters. It's a nationwide release, and I hope that we can support this because I know Ben personally. He's a really cool, really great guy. He's an inspirational guy, and the story, from what I've been told, I haven't seen the movie yet, but it's apparently kind of a tearjerker, but also very, very triumphant. So we'll talk with Ben Kerr about that movie coming up at 1 o'clock. And Bill Riley is going to join us in 3 minutes. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. That's Bill Riley's music, which means we're checking in with the voice of the Utes, former host of the ESPN 700 show in this time slot. Bill Riley joins us most Fridays, and he's here again. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Sean, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. We've got a big-time Holy War basketball rivalry game, this time happening in Provo on the weekend. You can hear that call right here on ESPN 700. Bill Riley will be on it, as is always the case. And the last time we saw these two teams square off, it was a hard-fought battle right down to the end. No secret that from a talent standpoint, the Runnin' Utes are a little bit overmatched, but they made that one a game, and there were opportunities where the outcome could have been different. As they go on the road this time, how can they try to replicate some of the successes they had, but maybe get over the hump in a hostile environment?
Well, they have to play as hard as they played in that game, Sean. That was the thing about that game against BYU, and it always helps when you're at home and you've got a huge home crowd behind you. It was a sellout that day and all of that stuff, but they really, really brought the effort in that game and didn't dig themselves an early hole, and they played, for the most part, really smart basketball. So that's where it's got to start, because when you go on the road, you know this, it doesn't matter if it's football or basketball or soccer or baseball, you have to ratchet it up just a little bit more. So they're going to have to play at least as hard as they did at home. But what they're going to have to do a little bit better than they did at home is you can't allow extra possessions for a team like BYU. Richie Saunders had 6 offensive rebounds in that game. You can't let anybody have 6 offensive rebounds, but you certainly can't allow a guard to come up with 6 offensive rebounds. That buys you extra possessions and buys you extra buckets. So I think that the game plan that they had was very solid. Rob Wright had a really good game. Richie Saunders had a really good game. A.J. DeBonsa, by his standard, had a kind of an average game, which most people would love to have an average game. But Utah did a pretty good job on him. They made him kind of earn his points from the free throw line. But they have to bring the same type of effort, if not maybe even a little bit more than what they did at home, to go down to Provo tomorrow and compete with BYU.
Keanu Dawes in the first matchup was not really able to get himself going from a scoring standpoint. So you pointed out the fact that BYU ended up with 3 guys that had scored 20 or more points, and obviously you can't count on that every single night. But in this game, the first time out, Utah had great production offensively from Terrence Brown, great production from Don McHenry, and then not really the third option to emerge off the bench or from elsewhere in the starting lineup to kind of give them that. It doesn't have to be 20, but to give them that double-digit score to kind of add to your main horses. Is that something that we could hopefully see in the trip to Marriott Center?
Well, yeah. I mean, I will say this. Dawes' scoring numbers weren't big in that first game. I think he had 7 points and 5 rebounds. He only took 6 shots. He drew a lot of the assignment on DeBonsa, and that's a handful right there. But to your point, yeah, they've got to get a little bit more offensively out of him. You know, you'd like to get a little bit more out of a guy like Seydou Traore as well. Seydou had a really nice game at Kansas State the other night, so if you can get a little bit more out of him. But I'll tell you a guy that's important for them, and it's not so much in a scoring standpoint. It's James Okonkwo.
Oh, yeah.
Okonkwo played arguably his best game of the year against BYU the first time around. He only had 4 points, but what he had was 13 rebounds and 4 offensive rebounds. And for a team that doesn't have a great deal of size, playing against a BYU team that rebounds it very well with Keita and the new kid that they brought in from the G League, and then I mentioned Richie Saunders and DeBonsa earlier, I think a guy like Okonkwo's got to stay out of some foul trouble, but he's got to be the same type of a force that he was on the glass in the first game to give Utah an opportunity to go down to BYU and be really competitive and push that game late like they did at home.
I was very impressed with Okonkwo in that first game. Like you already said, the rebounds. I talked about it way too much, but when he decided to go up on a charging right down the center of the lane, A.J. DeBonsa, and challenged that dunk and ended up getting the block there, it was kind of an inflection point, an emotional inflection point in the game. And it was a bit of a statement like, yeah, you guys are the talented, he might be the number 1 overall pick or whatever, but we're not going to give you anything free. And that felt like something that was pretty important from the Alex Jensen standpoint. Like when he's trying to establish his culture and a team that reminds us of how he used to play, that was a moment that I think highlighted that.
Well, yeah, because if he doesn't do that, if you remember the play, DeBonsa left from right inside the foul line. He had that arm cocked back at about a 45-degree angle, and he was going to go on a SportsCenter top 10 play and try to bring the house down. And Okonkwo, even if he stops the dunk, it makes a statement like, no, nothing easy here. But for him to have gone up and blocked that shot, it's like, okay, yeah, we're here. We're going to compete with you. We know what the headlines say, but this is kind of our house, and we're going to be there. And James has played. I mean, he's in his 6th year of playing college basketball, Sean. He played at West Virginia for a couple of years. He played at North Carolina. He played at Akron. So he's been in the Big 12. He's played against big-time players. So you're going to need that from him. The freshman Kendall Sanders, be nice to get a little bit out of him. He had 9 points in that first game, too, and he came in from IMG, played a lot of big-time opponents there. So, Utah doesn't have, a big three like BYU's big three. They've got a good big two. Terrence Brown and Don McHenry can score the basketball with anybody in the country. But they don't have quite the overall – so they've got to do it collectively. And if they can get the same type of effort that they got in that first game and maybe, don't give up a couple of possessions with offensive rebounds – I'd love their opportunity to get into that second half with, 8-10 minutes to play and still be in that ball game. So I think it'll be fun tomorrow, especially because they've seen them once already. It was only 2 weeks ago, and they played well. So we'll see what happens.
Since the last time we talked, Utah was able to secure their first Big 12 victory under Alex Jensen, 82-79 against TCU. Unfortunately, they didn't build on that momentum, and they ended up losing a close one to Kansas State. But focusing on TCU and kind of getting that monkey off the back, now you've got a Big 12 win under your new head coach. How significant is that, do you think, for the team moving forward?
Well, it's significant. It would have been even more so had they been able to secure that win the other night. That game at Kansas State was there for the taking for them. A couple of possessions here and there, a couple of little mental mistakes here and there. Maybe if you guard just a little bit better, that game might have been yours, and that would have been a back-to-back road wins, would have been or back-to-back wins, one on the road, one at home, and then you've got a little bit more wind at your back. Yeah, they're playing hard, they're competing, but boy, if you could have grabbed that K-State win to back it up after the TCU win, I think you'd feel a lot better about things. So we'll see how it plays tomorrow. There's incremental improvement. You're seeing it if you watch this team game in and game out the way I do. You've seen them improve from the beginning of the year till right now under what Alex is doing. But, you'd like there's no easy games in the Big 12. There just aren't. And so when you have that opportunity to grab a win, you'd love to see your team be able to come take it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Bill Riley is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, a conversation brought to you every week by our good friends at HandyLawUtah.com. Handy and Handy, personal injury attorneys. We'll get to some conversation about that here in just a second. Look, no moral victories. You want to get the win down in Provo, but we know that these two teams are right now, they're kind of at different levels of their progression under new head coaches. Alex Jensen in his first year establishing his culture and changing this program's future around, we hope. Kevin Young is a couple years into his project and has, as far as we're aware, some of the most robust financial support that you can find in all of college basketball. So it's apples to oranges on some of that front. And you still got to find a way to win. But what does an acceptable performance, if not a win, look like from Utah basketball on the road at BYU?
I think it's what I just said. I think it's competing and not, let's just use the Arizona game for an example. They were down 18 at the half. They didn't play terribly in the first half. Arizona played unbelievably. But they came out in the second half and played the number one team in the country, and they're the best team I've seen so far this year, dead even to a stalemate in the second half. I'm not saying you want to get down 18 at the Marriott Center tomorrow, but what I'm saying is competing for 40 minutes, giving your best effort for 40 minutes. It's like anything else, whether it's your kids in school and, they come home with a report card that's got a B and a C on it. But if they gave it their very best and that's the best they could possibly do, well, then you're happy with that. Yeah, Alex is not a moral victory guy. He says that to me all the time, and he's as frustrated with these losses because, he's a winner, he's a competitor. But if your team is giving you everything they have and they're playing and maxing out what they have and competing and going toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the country, I think that's what a victory looks like. Would you like to have the victory on the scoreboard? Absolutely. But if your team goes down and competes their tails off for 40 minutes and they're in the game in the second half, giving themselves a chance to win, he won't say that publicly because he's not a believer in moral victories. But to me, playing really hard, playing really smart, and playing toe-to-toe with a top 10 team is a good effort on a Saturday night. So we'll see what happens.
Since we last spoke, we also had the Big 12 football schedule released. Utah, I'm trying to be realistic, and I'm trying to temper expectations, and then I see the slate. I see how this thing lays out, and I'm like, well, you got to start the season 6-0. You're probably going to be favored in at least 5 of those first 6 games, and you got the only bye week of the season in there. And then week 8, I think Houston has some talent, and obviously BYU week 10, and you finish with a couple of tough matchups. But if I'm Morgan Scalley, and I know coaches don't think this way, but if I'm Morgan Scalley and I see this schedule for my very first year at the helm, I'm like, well, the conference could have treated me worse. You dodge Texas Tech, you dodge Arizona State in the regular season. I think it lays out nicely for the Utes. What do you think?
I do too, Sean. Now, you've got 7 home games this year, which is great. Only the one bye week. It's early October. Maybe you'd like it a little bit later. But I will say this. They have a tough stretch. That stretch at Cincinnati, Arizona, TCU, Houston, and BYU, that 5-game stretch from, late October through mid-November, that's not an easy stretch. But you're missing Texas Tech. You're missing Kansas State. You're missing Arizona State. Arkansas, this is one of those ones that looks really good on paper, but they were 2-10 and 0-8, and they fired their head coach early in the season last year. So that's going to be a whole new coaching staff coming in. I like this schedule for Utah. I really do. And I think having Houston at home and BYU at home are big games. Going to Arizona in November, that's not going to be an easy game. Noah Fafita in Arizona has given Utah fits in recent years. But I overall think this is a really good schedule. And I could absolutely see this as a 10-win schedule and a 10-win slate this year, maybe more, depending on how things come together. It's way too early because everybody's got questions right now. But I don't think that this is a wildly difficult schedule for the Utes. Now, again, maybe I'm proven wrong. Maybe some teams pop up that we didn't see last year. I'm not sure we saw Houston being a 10-win team. I'm not sure a lot of us saw Arizona being a 10-win team. So we'll see what happens. But I do think that the 2026 football schedule shapes up pretty good for the Utes.
BYU scheduled in week 10 again. I did my rant about this. It's the best rivalry game you've got left in the Big 12. It should be in rivalry weekend. But then, the conference makes the case that if you put it here, it's more nationally showcased and it doesn't get lost in some of the other rivalry games. Are we ever going to see the Holy War played at the final week of the season again?
I don't know. I mean, I see the argument and what the conference says. I mean, if you're looking around the country and seeing where other games are, maybe it does get more prominently showcased, and maybe that's what's most important for the Big 12 conference. I'm like you. The Big 10 puts their biggest rivals at the end of the year. The SEC puts some of their biggest rivals at the end of the year. It's almost like the Big 12 kind of waves the white flag and says, nah, we don't want to compete with you guys. We're going to take and put one of our biggest rivalries, if not our biggest conference rivalry, on November the 7th. But if I'm not mistaken, don't they play the Arizona State game at the end of the year?
Yes, they do.
So no offense to the Territorial Cup, but I don't think it has the same juice that Utah BYU does. And I know those schools hate each other. I do. I know those schools hate each other. But I think if you talk to people even around the country, most people would tell you that Utah BYU is a bigger rivalry than Arizona State is.
Yeah, the rivalry games played in Week 13 this year are Kansas State. Kansas State's playing Iowa State. Yeah, so Farmageddon is being played Territorial Cup is being played in rivalry week, and the, of course, long-standing BYU Cincinnati rivalry is being played in week 13. They I mean, I don't know if TCU Texas Tech really counts. We would call it that, but that's an in-state game, and beyond that, it's just those two I already mentioned. So the Big 12 is not embracing the competition of rivalry weekend, it appears.
Well, yeah, but here's what I will say. If November 7th gives Utah and BYU the big showcase and we get one of those great prime Fox or ABC or ESPN windows, I'm okay with that. I would much rather play that there than if you said, well, we could play you on November 28th, but you'll be in the 8:15 Mountain Time slot. I would rather be on November 7th in a prime slot where the country can see him, because I'm pretty sure that could be a top 15 matchup by the time those two teams get together, maybe even better than that on November the 7th.
Just got an email about the University of Utah new baseball facility. Grand opening ceremony going to be happening next Wednesday, it looks like. You're a baseball guy and you're a Utah guy, Bill. This is your worlds coming together.
Yeah, and I'll be emceeing that ribbon cutting on next week. The American First Ballpark, Charlie Montfort Field. It's a big deal. I walked through it a couple of weeks ago, Sean. It's beautiful. First of all, it's a brand new ballpark. It's right on campus. It's the views of the mountains through Sunnyside Park are spectacular, and it's going to be really cool. I mean, Smith Ballpark, or all its different iterations over the years downtown. That was a wonderful baseball stadium, but it wasn't Utah's. They were sharing it with the Bees, and it was frankly way too big for a college baseball stadium. But it was a nice home. But to have your own place on campus with the views and the students nearby and everything else, it's going to be fantastic. And I'm looking forward to. I haven't seen the finished product yet. We'll see that next Wednesday because they're finishing everything up for the grand opening, and then the first game in March. But yeah, it's going to be pretty spectacular.
Real quick, what's your Super Bowl matchup prediction as we head into AFC NFC Championship weekend?
I had Bills Rams about a week ago. That's clearly not going to happen now. I'm going to say Patriots Seahawks. I think we get a rematch of that game that Pete Carroll should have run the football on the goal line. I like the Rams a lot, but boy, Seattle, the way they're playing right now, the only thing that bothers me about that pick is I'm not sure if I completely trust Sam Darnold, and he has played terribly against the Rams this year. And it would be just like, Sean Payton to coach up a backup quarterback. But I think Vrabel's got something pretty good going with the Patriots. It's hard for me to see Jared Stidham winning an AFC championship game. So I'm going to go Patriots and Seahawks.
HandyLawUtah.com, Handy and Handy sponsor our conversation with Bill Riley every single week. You've known these guys a long time, Bill.
Yep, Preston and Garrett are great dudes. They run a terrific law firm, too. Personal injury attorneys, over 45 years experience combined between those guys. They'll take really, really good care of you if you've been hurt or somebody you know has been hurt or something's happened to you on the job. Let them help you out because they're the experts. You don't want to go into this because corporations and people that have lots and lots of attorneys on their side will always have the upper hand. That's why you've got to have great attorneys like Garrett and Preston Handy on your side. So let them help you out. Let them battle the insurance companies and whatnot for you and get your medical bills taken care of at Handy Law Utah. Go to HandyLawUtah.com. Who are your picks, by the way, for the Super Bowl?
Well, I just was going off about how everyone's just acting like losing Bo Nix is not a big deal for the Broncos, and Jared Stidham has not attempted any passes for the last two seasons. So I would like to see this Utes-laden Broncos roster move on, but I think it's going to be the Patriots. And I got to ride with our guy Eric Weddle and support the Rams here. I'd rather see the Rams do it than the Seahawks, although they are both divisional rivals of the San Francisco 49ers. So it's a tough pill to swallow on either front. But, Matthew Stafford, and he's not getting any younger. His window might be closing sooner than later. I'd like to see him get another opportunity at it.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know what I think, too? I just watching this year, Mike Vrabel's a really good coach. I mean, he is it's amazing. he took over a team that was a dumpster fire under Gerard Mayo last year. And it's not like they're laden with a bunch of superstar players on that team. I just think Vrabel's a really good coach.
I think he is. And there should be some kind of penalty that you have to pay if you're a team that fires a coach and then his next stop he goes to a Super Bowl. The Titans have got to be feeling real stupid right now.
Yeah, but that's kind of been the Titans' MO for a long time.
That's Bill Riley. He's the voice of the Utes. Bill, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
See you soon, Sean.
All right, we got a leaderboard update next in the Hot Lunch. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Andy Larson's going to join us to start hour number 2, but first a PGA Tour leaderboard update from the American Express Classic, brought to you by our friends at Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf. What do you have for us, James?
Yeah, this is the the first big PGA Tour event of the year. It's at La Quinta Country Club in, let's see. Google didn't list it right away, so La Quinta Country Club, there you go.
La Quinta Inn?
Yeah, maybe.
It's in La Quinta, California. La Quinta
there it is, La
Country
Quinta,
Club.
California. There you go. Siwoo Kim is your leader, 2-shot lead over fellow Korean. I'm gonna try not to butcher this. Son Yeon Kim. He's in second at 12 under. Siwoo Kim in first at 14 under. Handful of guys tied for third, including Scotty Scheffler at 11 under, still in the hunt here. Obviously, early in the tournament. Ricky Fowler among a group that rounds out the top 10. Russell Henley as well. Wyndham Clark. Some big names there, tied for 8th at 10 under, 4 shots off the lead. Jason Day as well, recent major winner. Local guys, Tony Finau is in this field, of course, and he is at 4 under, tied for 83rd. 4 under sounds like a pretty good score, but that's a lot of guys are going low. So he's either around the cut line or just outside the cut line at this point, so he's got some work to do. He's only through 7 holes, so he's got plenty of time to do so. Another local guy is former BYU star Patrick Fishburne, right there with Tony Finau, tied for 83rd at 4 under. So both those local guys got some work to do. Fishburne has just started his round, though, so a lot more golf ahead of him than Finau, but Finau still plenty of time to make up some ground there. That's your PGA Tour leaderboard update from the American Express at La Quinta Country Club, La Quinta, California. I knew that right off the top, OC. I didn't.
Southwest of Joshua Tree National Park, just a little bit northwest of the Salton Sea, which is one of your favorite bodies of water in Southern California, I know.
Absolutely love to float.
Yep. Don't we all?
I assume Salton Sea means very salty.
I guess.
And you can float like you do in the Great Salt Lake.
I'm gonna have to look up, because I'm always curious when I see these like little landmarks. I don't know much about the Salton Sea. I think there's a movie called Salton Sea. Anyway, I'll find out more about it and report back. Okay.
Sounds good. By the way, we were talking about RSL potential rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
What about the old Salt Air FC? You've seen the Twitter account.
Love it.
#try to sink. Maybe we just make that a real team.
By the way, I don't know if everyone in the sports sphere really got on board with this. It was kind of a COVID thing, wasn't it? Where they were doing, where the Salt Air FC was they were putting out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if they've done a whole lot lately.
They came up with this really, really cool logo that was the Salt Air, on like this kind of like facade of Salt Air on fire, which of course happened. Really, really cool. A slogan, "Try to sink," because of course you can't.
It's because it's very salty.
And they were the Fighting Brine. I bought a sweatshirt. I have a Fighting Brine sweatshirt of Salt Air FC.
Of course you do. You are always on board with that.
I love this stuff, man. Like the sports brand, they just made up a totally real, definitely historic and relevant football club that may or may not have ever existed. It was such a great little thing, great little campaign. I don't know the people, I don't know who they are behind this thing, but I want them to do it many, many times, over and over again.
We should effort getting the whoever's in charge of it, whatever group of people in charge of it, on the show and try to get them to campaign. If you're going to rebrand Miller Group, take our brand.
I see. So
or we'll sell it to you.
When they were doing,
move.
How cool would that be? Salt Air FC.
Salt Air FC.
Like if that was the actual MLS team for Utah, that would be so sick. That would be amazing.
Spence Checketts is listening somewhere and yelling into his car.
Spence, I knew Spence because Spence has like a family connection.
Yes, it's personal to him. Andy Larson, we're gonna have to ask him about this. He told me he has a grievance related to that.
Perfect.
Last night when I was at the Jazz Spurs.
As well, we got Andy Larson in 3 minutes, and it's Friday, which is when we air grievances. So let's get to it. That leaderboard update was brought to you by our friends at Uinta Golf. Discount on the golf apparel, 25% off regular priced apparel all the way through February 1st. So you got about a week left to cash in on the discounts for your Ben Hogan gear especially. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Andy Larson at Andy B. Larson on Twitter. Utah Jazz and NBA insider for the Salt Lake Tribune, and he writes his data column weekly. Andy Larson, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did the Utah Jazz find themselves the next triple-double machine in Jusuf Nurkic? Back-to-back triple-doubles.
He's now 5th all-time in Jazz triple-doubles.
Amazing.
It's remarkable, right? Props to Nurkic for going from a guy who was salary dumped with the first-round pick from the Suns last year to being a legitimate contributor on what appears to be, he is the offensive engine of this team. It's pretty bonkers. It also says a lot about how few triple-doubles the Jazz have had. That, too, is good enough to get you top 5 on the all-time Jazz list.
Yes, we had Gordy Chiez in studio yesterday, and he gave us the list of triple-doubles in Utah Jazz history, the triple-double leaders, and it was like, with one, you're going to the top 5? A bunch of guys tied with one triple-doubles. Oh, wow. Okay. The fact that Karl Malone only had 3 in his entire career is genuinely shocking to me.
Yeah, no one was getting 10 assists back then, right? That's other than John Stockton. And then, obviously John Stockton couldn't get 10 rebounds very often. The weird thing is just in the last 2 decades where, all sorts of random guys have gotten a ton of triple-doubles. The Jazz didn't have anyone to get that. And I think some of that was Quinn Snyder's offensive system for nearly a decade did not lead to a lot of assist totals. But, and now it's Nurk, not, Donovan Mitchell, not Darren Williams, not, Gordon Hayward, not Rudy Gobert. It's not Lauri Markkanen. It's Jusuf Nurkic. It's not Keontae George. It's Jusuf Nurkic getting these triple-doubles.
Do you know, so Mark Eaton right now is second on the all-time list of triple-doubles. He had 6. Pistol Pete Maravich had 7. Do you know if Mark Eaton's triple-doubles were 10 block triple-doubles instead of assist and point triple-doubles? It feels like
yeah, they were.
Blocks were his third stat in all those, right?
Yes.
That's such an insane thing for block shots to be in double digits. But
Rudy Gobert got 9 blocks once, but never got to the triple-double 10.
That's a wild thing. But we're not here just to talk triple-doubles. Look, I think you're going to hear this question from me every time you join me because it's once a month or less. Is this team too good to achieve what they're actually trying to achieve this year?
It feels if they played everyone, yes, I think they are, right? I think we have some pretty good evidence at this point that if you play Lauri Markkanen and you play Keontae George and you play Nurkic and Svi and you surround them with some reasonably good young guys, which is what it appears the Jazz have, you can get to 35 to maybe even 40 wins, and that is probably too good to get you a bottom 8 spot in the draft order, which is what the Jazz need in order to keep their pick. And so I think that's why you have seen over the last few weeks the Jazz choose to sit Jusuf Nurkic and Svi and Lauri, I think, was legitimately ill last week. He looked exhausted in his return to fitness, conditioning before the game yesterday. But, I think there is clearly, the Jazz are going to play with the injury report, the availability report a little bit, despite what was said in the offseason, and do what it takes to try to keep this pick, because it is, it does raise the ceiling of the team a lot to have a pick in this lottery, because, this is fun and nice if you kind of put it all together with this roster, but no one really believes it can be championship competitive. It clearly does need, a top-level all-star, all-NBA caliber player to be really compete, for a championship.
Well, we talked a lot last year about who on the roster now is part of a future core that can actually compete for something. And, Keontae George has obviously played himself into a situation where I think you have to acknowledge that he should be there. And I don't know if it changes people's calculus on, well, let's get even younger, and maybe that means your commitment to Lowry is a little bit different. Obviously, Walker Kessler's been hurt all year, but they think very highly of him. So if you're looking to the future and hopefully keeping that lottery pick, and you're like, okay, well, we have this core. Who is that core now?
Yeah, the core is Lowry, Walker, Ace, and Keontae. And that's been made clear to me, by the front office and the coaching staff. And, that is kind of who they're considering as their core four. And then, you're hoping for development from the likes of Bryce Sensabaugh and Cody Williams and Taylor Hendricks and Isaiah Collier. But those four guys that I named earlier are the core. They are – and then they're looking for, okay, who is the fifth piece that kind of makes sense next to them? And you look at the strengths and weaknesses of the team, and it's probably you need someone who can defend the opponent's best player, probably a guard, probably a wing player, someone with length. And there's hope that maybe Taylor Hendricks or Cody Williams can become that, but probably not, and it probably means a new acquisition. So, but yeah, that's the core. They have a core four in mind, and obviously you'd like to see more development from Ace. You want to see Walker get through a season healthy and so on, but that does seem to make sense as a core that can play off one another pretty well.
We're pretty far into the Ace Bailey rookie year now. He had a career-high 25 points. He posterized Victor Wembanyama, which for me means he's a better player than Victor Wembanyama. That's how I'm going to calculate this moving forward. But in all seriousness, Ace Bailey, I think it's been really cool to see how he is fitting into this team, especially after all of the reporting around the start of it. And, he doesn't want to go this place, and he's going to hold out if this team drafts him. And all of that is just water so far under the bridge now. And it seems like the kid genuinely enjoys what he's doing and works hard, and his development has been fun to watch. Is it on pace with what this Jazz team expected and needed from him?
Yeah, he's a good kid and was just, I think, hurt so much by his former manager, Omar Cooper, who he fired over the summer, right? So I thought that move showed a lot of maturity. He is it's kind of a different player than I think what a lot of fans expected coming into the draft, where he has just kind of been a part of Utah's offensive system, but not, he's not taking too many shots. He's not taking a lot of mid-range pull-ups. He's not kind of stopping the offense in order to get his. He's a part of kind of what the Jazz's offensive scheme is, right? He's in the corner for a lot of possessions. Sometimes he comes off of pick and rolls, but a lot of it's cuts and putbacks and getting out in transition. And I think that's what we saw last night. Will Hardy complimented the variety of baskets he scored on the way to 25. So, I think that's really encouraging is, he's not going to be a system-breaking kind of player. He's going to be someone who's additive to what you're doing. And there's still a long way to go. He needs to, absolutely raise the focus on the defensive end. I think he tries sometimes, but can get backdoored pretty easily. But it's, it's as encouraging. The numbers are not that encouraging. It's not star-level production in his rookie season like you see from Cooper Flagg or Con Knipple or one of those guys, but it is team first play, and that's really cool to see given kind of what the concerns on him were coming out of the draft.
Andy Larson, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, Utah Jazz and NBA insider over at the Salt Lake Tribune. What does the NBA say, think? What are the behind the scenes conversations like about this gray area that players and NCAA teams are now operating in, where you've got guys that have pro contracts, it doesn't work out, and then they bounce back into the NCAA. I mean, we've talked about this a lot from the college perspective, but what does the NBA think of this? You've got a lawsuit with this Charles Bediako guy who is trying to get back to college basketball after being in the G League for 3 years and signing two-way contracts in the NBA. Does the league care about this?
I don't think the NBA cares about it at this point because it is G League guys. It's guys who have fallen out of the NBA who are trying to go back to college, right? The new BYU kid, what's his Abdullah? I forget his last name, but Abdullah Ahmed, I believe.
Yeah, Abdullah Ahmed.
Yeah, he's was a guy who played for the Westchester Knicks coming off the bench. The NBA as the league is not worried about minor league bench guys, right? James Najee, who was drafted, in the second round, going back to college, I don't think is that concerning because he fell out of the league. So yeah, I think it's mostly an issue that kind of college basketball has to figure out. It's been interesting how bad James Najee's been in college, quite frankly. Like, he's averaging 2 points a game and has not been good. But, will that change? I think kind of one interesting way that I see this unfolding is the bottom of the first round and top of the second round is going to get a lot worse for teams, as guys like, Richie Saunders, for example, debate, should I make $3 million a year in NIL or should I go to the NBA and make, $1 million on my rookie contract? It may be the best choice for them financially to stay in college. And that means that you probably get fewer 19-year-olds in the league, which may actually raise the product overall in the NBA, right? If you're getting more 21 and 22-year-olds, juniors, seniors than you're used to, than we've seen over the last 20 years, that might actually be a good thing for the league. So, they have not stepped in any way. I don't think they will unless something changes, but there's some pros and cons from an NBA point of view for sure.
Are any of the Jazz opponents potentially going to be affected by this winter storm that is going to take over the eastern half of the United States? Are there contingency plans in place in case somebody can't? I haven't looked where everyone's coming from on their way to Salt Lake City or anything like that. But is this something that the Jazz have to worry about?
That's a good question. They have changed the start time for one game on the East Coast. Miami is coming into play tomorrow. I would imagine, given the timing of that, they'll fly in today. I should check with Miami's staff and see if everything goes well there, but I assume the timing works out there. Maybe they don't get home. I don't know what Miami's next game is, so that's, again, just need to see what works out for them. I'm guessing if they're coming all the way out to Utah, usually the NBA schedule works that they're going to Phoenix or Denver or Portland or wherever next. But, it certainly is a big deal for teams in the Eastern Conference. After the Jazz play the Heat, then they play the Clippers. Obviously, that's not a concern. That's actually a national TV game as well. Then they play the Warriors, obviously not a concern. And then Brooklyn not until next Friday after, the storm probably is figured out. So I don't think it's going to be a Jazz issue. I think there could be some scheduling issues for the, kind of Southeast teams over the next few days, but I don't think that will ripple effect out to the Jazz.
I put a poll question out the other day in response to an email and a tweet and a couple of text messages I got about Miller Sports Entertainment, new owners of Utah Royals FC and the Real Salt Lake brands, kind of doing a survey on, their brand impact, awareness, and things like that in the community. I know you've seen this. My poll question was, would you support a rebrand or rename of Real Salt Lake? I got about 500 votes. 62% of people say no. Just under 38% say yes, they would support that. Where does Andy Blarson stand on this front?
I'm pretty anti-changing the name. Look, Real Salt Lake's a goofy name, just like Utah Jazz is, right? Like, for sure, no doubt about it. I think we should embrace the fact that this is a team that has won a championship, and embrace the fact that this is a name that the fans have rallied around for 22 years. I think, if you rebrand, there's a lot of really bad ways it can go. Even if you think that you are smart and can avoid the Ryan Smith turning Jazz into yellow stuff, it can still go really badly. I don't want a Utah United or a Utah FC. Like, come on now. It's just I don't like any of the possibilities. Look, it's obviously it's a goofy name, but like it's what we call the soccer team. This is who we are. This is we have chants and all this kind of history and culture built up around what this name is, and so I hate this idea that the Millers are coming into RSL, and instead of investing in the product on the pitch, which has been abysmal, they are trying to figure out if their fans want to change the team name. Like, focus on what matters. And look, I get that they're signing a completely average midfielder today, but I'm as an RSL fan, their priorities are in the wrong place, and I'm pretty annoyed about it.
You're an actual soccer fan, right? You're a real soccer fan.
Yeah. I have RSL season tickets. I watch a ton of soccer. Yes.
Do you have any World Cup plans with the World Cup coming to North America?
So I went to the Brazil World Cup, almost 10 years ago now, and more than 10 years ago now.
That's a flex. Okay, fancy.
And it was awesome. And so I spent $6,000. I saved up like $200 a month when I was in college and working my quick real estate job after college, and paid $6,000 a month to go on this flight with the American Outlaws, the U.S. supporters group, to Brazil for all the U.S. games. And it ruled. We stayed in Brazil for 2 weeks on the beach in Natal. We got flown to Manaus in the rainforest to see them play. It was sick. It is maybe more expensive to watch this World Cup in the U.S. It is harder to get tickets. It is harder to fly to Kansas City.
Yeah.
It is crazy. So I would love to go to some of these games, and and I expect something will work out so that I can. But it's hard logistically to figure out how to make this work. So I hope to, but I don't know what I'm doing at this point. It is because these tickets are just thousands of dollars to go to the 49ers stadium or whatever.
And you'll tear a tendon after you go there. Because of the power substation.
Listen, the electrical substations are going to get us all.
Yeah, no one's taking a look at what kind of effect these things have on the fans. All right, how many 49ers fans walking up to their seat in row 36 have blown out a knee? We need to take a look at this.
The stats are clear that electricity is bad for us. Yeah, this is the funniest. This is the funniest conspiracy theory I've seen on the internet in a long time. Because man, we've got electricity now. I don't know what to say about it. Anyway,
here's my big problem with it is now the players are starting to pay enough attention to it that the Niners are launching some investigation into it, and it is a lose-lose for the organization, and that's my favorite pro sports team in existence. If you find some ethereal link between tendon injuries and the electric field on somebody's Gauss meter, then you get sued by everybody who ever played for you. And if you come back and you say, no, we studied it and everything's fine, then everyone thinks you're suppressing information and that you're lying about it. So it's just a lose-lose for them.
My hope is somehow this goes back to them going back to Candlestick Park. Dang it, we got to shutter Levi's Stadium now.
They tore it down. It doesn't exist anymore. It's gone.
You got to build a new one on the spot of Candlestick.
Perfect. I think there's apartments there now, but that's fine. We'll do it. James said you might have a grievance you want to air because we're an hour early, but because you are kind enough to give us some time, is there a grievance you'd like to air?
I thought, James, I thought my grievance would be the RSL name thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I got anything else.
Well, guess what? I support renaming the team, so now your grievance can be with me.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay. Sean O'Connell on my hit list. That seems the level to which you would be a bad enemy to pick for me is extremely. You literally won $1 million fighting MMA. I am a huge nerd. I should not pick fights with you.
Hey, look, nerds run the world, man. You got a lot more power than I do, and I'm totally on board with it. I'll try to be an honorary nerd on some things.
I think that's true just by having me on the show. You're extending the olive branch,
Nerd by association, I'll take it. It's good enough for me.
Okay, yeah.
Andy, I appreciate your time as always. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, man. See ya.
Andy B. Larson, affectionately referred to by me as Andy Blarson because, that's what his Twitter is. Andy B. Larson, Andy Blarson. Go follow him. He does great work on the Jazz, the NBA, on his data column as well for the Salt Lake Tribune.
And he told me before we got him on our little quick chat on the phone, even though he says he's all for keeping the name, the heritage that they've built over 22 years, even though it's wonky, He is also on board with the idea, if you're going to change it, why not Salt Air FC?
There you go.
Try to sync, guys.
By the way, how cool is it? That supporters trip that he talked about for the Brazilian World Cup, $6,000, and you get to go to multiple games and have multiple flights inside Brazil. That's still a lot of money, especially for a guy in his age category at that time where he's saving up that money through college. That's a ton. But, you don't have a wife and kids and probably a mortgage that you got to spend that money on. And imagine the memories. However, he also astutely pointed out that you cannot pull that off for the North American World Cup. You will not believe in the Daily Dump. You will lose your mind when I tell you the most expensive World Cup ticket that is already for sale. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show, time for the Daily Dump. Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Air, sponsoring the Daily Dump, and potpourri of stories from around the world of sports. We just had Andy Larson on. We were talking about the soccer stuff. Could Real Salt Lake potentially rename? He's not a supporter of that. He is a veteran of the World Cup. He's been to World Cup games. The World Cup is coming to North America this summer. James, take a wild guess on the secondary ticket market, what the price of a VIP ticket to the final is listed at right now. Now, I don't know how you could be listing these yet because they haven't nobody actually has these yet, right? I don't think anyone actually owns their tickets yet. I think they go on sale in 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. But
in theory, yeah.
So
I don't know.
If your hypothetical ticket to the final, how much do you think that would cost? VIP ticket.
I don't know, $15,000.
James, if you want to go to Team USA's first match of the tournament versus Paraguay on June 12th, it's going to cost you $15,000.
Oh my gosh! So the final. Okay. Now that I know that, I mean, I nailed the opener.
This is a VIP.
Okay.
This is a VIP ticket.
Yeah, I nailed the opener. So you didn't even ask me that. Extra credit there. Final. Dang, that's for the opener, not
the
final.
A ticket to the final,
$50,000
is being listed as for $230,000 on the official FIFA marketplace.
That's terrible.
That it's just ridiculous. Now, there's no way that this can be sustainable. There's no way that this can hold fast. This is people getting excited, I think, early. So if you want to go to Mexico versus South Africa, I'm on StubHub right now rather than the official. I don't know how people are selling these tickets yet. Front row ticket for this. This is a June 11th matchup in Mexico City. $23,000 for a front row ticket. You want to sit in the very top of the stadium? I'm talking like way, way up there when Mexico takes on South Africa. It's going to cost you $6,800.
Holy cow. Yeah, wait, more than the CFP National Championship game?
A Category 3 ticket, the get-in price for this game, June 11th, Mexico, South Africa, in Mexico City, $3,200 for the cheapest ticket in the building.
Let's compare this to the Super Bowl, because obviously that's been the hottest ticket in North American sports.
Right now, United States Paraguay, June 12th at SoFi Stadium, the get-in price is much, much cheaper than a Super Bowl.
Okay,
is much cheaper than the CFP National Championship game. Just under $1,500, $1,487 for a top row back section ticket to that game.
So Andy, when he says his entire trip cost $6,000 in 2014 when he was a college student and went with the American Outlaws Team USA, U.S. Men's National Team Supporters Group to Brazil, $6,000. The ticket, one ticket for $1,500 to get just the lowest price you can get.
Yeah.
In L.A., Inglewood, California, to be exact. You get that's going to cost $1,500. That trip's going to cost you like at least
that trip's
$8,000 to $10,000, right?
Trip's if it's just you're just paying for you and you want to get a flight and you want to get a hotel or an Airbnb or something, you could probably get away with going to that one game in a crappy seat for like $3,500.
Okay, 35. Yeah,
$3,000 to $3,500.
I'm thinking of fancy folks. If you're talking about, I was giving that.
Fancy folks ain't sitting in the upper decks.
That's true.
If you're talking about wanting to be in the lower bowl tickets are at least $8,000.
So
per seat, James.
You're going over $10,000 for your trip, and I'm sure Andy's seats were not. He didn't tell us where they were in the stadium for his World Cup trip, but part of the supporters group, they're probably
good
not
lower bowl
the
seats.
Very top of the stadium, right? And that's crazy.
Okay, what if you just want to? I mean, that's to watch Mexico in Mexico or to watch Team USA in the USA. What if you just want to say, I went to a World Cup game? I did this with the Rugby World Cup. I just want to go watch a match at the Rugby World Cup. I did this when we were on a PFL trip in France. I paid $45 at the door of the stadium to watch Uruguay play somebody in Namibia. Okay, the 2 worst teams in the tournament. I went and watched them. It was great. I loved it. It was fun.
So just see 2 random teams.
And I get to say I went to a Rugby World Cup. I went to a Rugby World Cup match. Let's say you want to do that at Levi Stadium and watch out for the practice field. But Qatar versus Switzerland, okay? The get-in price for that game is $431 a ticket. So if you want the cheapest World Cup ticket you can find, this is pool play. These are not elimination games. This is not high-stakes stuff. And this is Qatar versus Switzerland. It's going to cost you for one ticket $431. And again, that is level 4 at Levi Stadium. So you've got the lower bowl. Then you've got kind of that second tier. And then only half of the stadium even has the third and fourth tier. But you're way up there. You are like, there are planes buzzing the top of your head if you're that high up in the stadium. It's going to cost you $400 for a no stakes. Like if you're from Switzerland and you come to the States, congratulations. You got the cheapest ticket in town.
Yeah. Now, I would probably do that if I lived in the area that the game was taking place. Like I just want to go to a World Cup game. If there were games, if we were fortunate enough to have games at American First Field,
that'd be amazing.
Which would be way too small a field. They'd probably put it at Rice Eccles Stadium if they were to have it in Salt Lake City. But it would be American First Field. I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to spend the money to see Team USA play here, but I'll spend the money to see what's the cheapest one. I'd probably pay a few $100. As crazy as that number sounds for the least stakes game, for me personally, and for probably in the whole tournament, I'd probably feel like I could justify putting a few $100 down to see a World Cup game. I'm not flying somewhere and then paying $400 to see that game.
Let's say you're a Canadian who lives in Toronto and you want to go watch Team Canada play in their in their pool play matches at BMO Field in Toronto, Ontario. Toronto, as they say.
Is that the home of the Argonauts?
Probably.
Shout out CFL.
It's going to cost you $41,000 US to sit on the front row of that game. And in Canadian dollars, that's like $60,000. Woo. I mean, the prices for this are just disgusting. They are absurd. Like, the Super Bowl is bad enough. All right? I've never been to a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I want to go to a Super Bowl. The last time the Niners were in Vegas at the Super Bowl, I was like, well, I could drive to Vegas.
You thought about it.
Pretty much for free. I could stay with friends in Vegas for free, and the crappiest ticket in the building was $5,800. And I looked at my wife and my children, and I was just like, I can't justify not spending that money on you guys and spending it on myself. And I'm glad because the Niners ended up losing, so it would have been money not so well spent for me.
Classic game, though. I mean,
yeah, it's a great
game.
It
would have been cool to be there, even though you would have felt bad.
But it is just bananas that soccer fans, which, by the way, the reason that soccer is the most popular game on the planet is because it is the most accessible game on the planet from a participation standpoint, and in most cases, even from a fan standpoint. The reason why people in developing countries and first world countries and all countries love soccer so much is because it takes a flat surface and a ball and a couple of cones or a fat kid and a dog that you can make sit in one spot, and that's your goal. Whatever. It's the easiest game to just pick up and play. And now the World Cup in North America is pricing out every normal human being, even in North America. If you want to come from wherever to support your team that qualified from South America, from Africa, from Southeast Asia, whatever, how can you possibly afford to go to one of these games? You're going to, it's just absurd. I know that FIFA doesn't care, and these games are going to be sold out, and the secondary market is going to make a lot of people a lot of money. And I'm usually not that, I'm all for capitalism. I'm usually not the guy that's like, come on, something has to be done here. But when the get-in price for a game to watch your own country is in the several $1,000s, it's a problem. And I know these are luxury things and you're not entitled to watch, but like you would like for sporting events to not only be accessible to hyper rich people. Anyway,
it makes for a better atmosphere too. And like, I don't know exactly what it is, but the more corporate a crowd is, the atmosphere's the more wealthy a crowd is. The atmosphere is typically a lot more mild, a lot more tame. But when you let the everyman get in there, the more you put in there, it's usually louder. It's usually a little more raucous. It's usually a lot more entertaining.
Look no further than SoFi Stadium regular season NFL games. All visiting fans, just a sterile hospital environment in all but the most like loyal corners of the fan bases there. It's dumb. All right. Also in the Daily Dump, NFL news, the Buffalo Bills have an opening. Now, their owner, Terry Pagula, made that opening look not so appealing with his boneheaded comments earlier in the week, but they're interviewing a couple of people, including Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, who was a month ago just, high school football coach, doing his thing, dad of 10, living as normal a life as you possibly can post-retirement, and then he gets called out of retirement and plays a few NFL games and resets his clock, and now the Buffalo Bills are interviewing him for a head coaching position. Not for like a, hey, Phillip, we'd like you to work in our scouting department. Hey, we'd like you to help out the front office. They're interviewing Phillip Rivers for the head coaching position.
You not even for like, hey, what you want to? Can we interview you to be a quarterback's coach? Like, this is the coach, and all he's done is he's coached high school for a few years now.
Now, look, I think if you're a good coach, you're a good coach at whatever level. I think we're seeing that with Joey McGuire. I think we're seeing that with Curt Cignetti. I think we're seeing that with a lot of these guys.
I think we will see it with Eric Kerr as he transitions to Weber State.
Absolutely. That's a great example. I think he's going to do a great job in college football as well. I think that, I think that in the NBA, it's become common practice now to take a guy with no coaching experience and just say, yeah, you're a great player. You're a great locker room guy. You're our head coach now. It is a wildly different game, and it is a wildly different locker room, and it is a wildly different system in the NFL. For Phillip Rivers to be seriously considered as a head coaching candidate when he's never been a coach of any kind in the NFL is, I mean, maybe I heard on the Rich Eisen show as I was coming in, like, this could just be like a courtesy call. Like, somebody in the organization is close to him, really likes him, whatever, and you're just kicking the tires on it, but that's not a serious candidate here. If the Bills hire a guy who never made it to the Super Bowl to be the guy who gets you to the Super Bowl in a job he's never had before, that's probably not a good hire.
I feel like it's borderline malpractice, OC. And that's a strong word to say. It's not malpractice. Shout out to Sarah Todd, like the Mavericks trading Luka Doncic, but it's like what I said about the Colts. My Colts bringing him in as quarterback. It just doesn't strike you as a serious move. Like, are you serious about this? It doesn't feel that serious. And the Bills. And Terry Pagula, Brandon Beane, Josh Allen needs them to be serious about this.
There were rumors earlier. I don't know how much credence we give to them because rumors are just that Josh Allen did not like the way that whole thing went down and the way that Keon Coleman got thrown under the bus and the way that Pagula was just like a little bit erratic.
Don't get Joshy angry.
And that maybe Joshy is thinking, all right, it's not going to work out here in Buffalo.
You just Joshy?
I'll call him Joshy for today. But that Josh Allen was like, not impressed, guys. And if you get that guy to sour on your organization, you're screwed in Buffalo. And look, if Josh Allen is the reason why Phillip Rivers is getting this interview, then I can understand it. If for whatever reason Josh Allen is like, he was my favorite player growing up, I know he's a great coach, I want him to be my guy, that and you're catering to Josh Allen, don't hire him. But
Give him
absolutely bring him into and be like, hey, we brought him in. He's not quite there yet. He's not ready to do this yet, whatever. And then Josh feels like he's being listened to. Then I understand this more. Otherwise, it's kind of out of nowhere. It's a little bit random.
That's a good point. I hadn't considered that. And if you really want to appease Josh Allen, you do this interview and be like, we're considering everything. He's under consideration, but then you quietly are like, Philip, why don't you be Josh's quarterback coach?
Yeah, why not?
And like that, not going to hire him as our head coach, but we're going to have him on staff because also, Josh really wants to work with you.
Doesn't Philip Rivers live in the South right now?
Yeah, I think he's in Texas.
You're going to take him to Buffalo, New York with his 10 kids?
Well, as Nick Saban says, people from the South only go to the North to get paid. I didn't know we were in Civil War times still, OC. Jeez.
Well, some people would say.
In other ways, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, he lives in Fairhope, Alabama.
Oh, Alabama. Never mind. I thought he was maybe I'm just thinking I thought he grew up in Texas, maybe. But maybe I'm wrong about that, too.
I think you're wrong about that. I think he's like a true South guy. Also being interviewed by the Buffalo Bills, a man who took a job like 5 seconds ago. Mike McDaniel apparently interviewing for the head coaching position.
I mean, why not?
He yesterday at like 7:30 p.m. he was announced officially as the Chargers offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And he's like, just kidding, guys. I might be taking the Bills head coaching job. Now, look, obviously, if you get a head coaching opportunity in the NFL and you can be Josh Allen's head coach, you would rather have that even than being the offensive coordinator for somebody like Justin Herbert and working under Jim Harbaugh. But it's a weird deal to be like, yes, I agreed to this job. I will be there. And then, oh, wait, I got an interview.
Hold up. Sean McDermott was still the coach when I agreed to this. He wasn't, though. Also, Mike McDaniel, from the Bills' perspective, brilliant offensive mind. That seems like a no-brainer kind of guy you'd want to at least interview when you've got the quarterback that you have in Josh Allen. You want to have someone who can unlock that potential even more. So that makes a lot of sense.
All right, got to take a quick one here. That is the Daily Dump brought to you by our friends at Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Look for the truck with the duck. Tell them OC sent you. PGA Tour leaderboard update coming. And at 1 o'clock, Ben Kerr to talk about the premiere, which is today, of his brand new movie, Standout. Former All-American wrestler at UVU, 3-time state wrestling champion out of Viewmont, an inspirational guy that you're going to want to hear his story. You want to go watch the movie as well. Ben Kerr joins us at 1. Lots left to get to on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Leaderboard updates brought to you by our friends at Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf. Ben Kerr coming up here in just about 5 minutes. PGA Tour leaderboard update from the American Express Classic. James has been doing the tongue twister names. Who's on top of that leaderboard, James Peterson?
All right, so Siwoo Kim, the two Koreans are now tied at the top of the leaderboard at 14 under. Siwoo Kim, Son Yeon Kim, I believe is the pronunciation of that Kim brother, if you will. We're going to call them brothers. Why not? 14 under. Scotty Scheffler among the group tied for third at 13 under, one shot off the lead. In sixth, it's Ben Griffin at 12 under, a couple shots off the lead there. A handful of guys, including Wyndham Clark, Russell Henley. Let's see. A couple of those, handful of those guys. Those are some of the more notable names in that group. Tied for seventh at 11 under. Tony Finau in the field, along with a former BYU great. Finau he's moved up a little bit. He's now at 5 under, gained a shot on the leaderboard here. Tied for 81st, still needs some work to do to probably avoid the cut line there. And then Patrick Fishburne from BYU a few years ago. He is also in the field. He's at 6 under, tied for 63rd. That's typically around where the cut line is for this kind of tournament, OC, from what I've found. So he's right there. Just four shots in. Finau is, I believe, 10 shots in. So still plenty of time for them to gain some ground and get securely into the weekend. But that's your leaderboard update from the American Express at La Quinta Country Club in California. Brought to you by Uinta Golf.
Locations in Salt Lake City, down in Sandy, Riverdale, and Orem. Check out Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf for all of your needs. And if you're out there listening, Valentine's Day, I think, is the next big gift-giving occasion for most people. For the lady and or gentleman in your life, there's not one person who doesn't want a sleeve of golf balls. Even if you're not a golfer, you probably want a sleeve of golf balls because they're fun just to toss around, bounce on the pavement, beat up a little bit. But for all the golfers out there, Uinta Golf has the best selection, the best prices on your golf balls, your golf clubs, your golf apparel, 25% off the Ben Hogan apparel from now until February 1st. So check out Uinta Golf at any of those locations all up and down the Wasatch Front.
Just don't try to play wall ball with the golf balls.
You could.
6, 7-year-old. Oh, I did it again.
You did it again.
Numbers. 7-year-old me, elementary school age me, tried to do that one time. Got the biggest headache I ever had in my life. It's hard to track it off the wall like a racquetball that you or a tennis ball you typically play wall ball with. So just fair warning there.
Okay.
If you're not a golfer.
Public service announcement. Today was the deadline, by the way. It kind of ended up sneaking under the radar because nothing happened, but the powers that be in college football, the deadline was today to decide whether or not the college football playoff would expand for next year, go to 16 teams, maybe go to 14 teams, stay at 12, and the decision has been made that at least for the 2026 season, and of course it will finish in early 2027, but we're going to stick at 12 teams. Now, the reason this is most relevant for our conversations is because, as we touched on with Spence Checketts yesterday during Crosstalk, the Big 12 is considered a one-bid league by the powers that be. They're not going to, unless you have a really, truly special year, and this year was one of those. You're not going to see anything except for the Big 12 conference champion in the college football playoff. And unfortunately, Texas Tech kind of screwed it up for everyone by not even scoring any points when they got into the college football playoff. So anyone who was a critic of the Big 12 conference, anyone who was a detractor of the Big 12 conference, the SEC and Big Ten honks out there that are just like, these guys can't hang with us. All you have to do is you have to point at Texas Tech, who was dominant all year long in the Big 12 and who beat the second best team in the Big 12 in convincing fashion twice and beat the third best team in the Big 12 if you didn't watch the game in pretty convincing fashion, everyone who looks at Texas Tech's resume and then saw what they did in the college football playoff can very easily say, don't worry about the Big 12. No chance do they deserve anything extra. I mean, the real knock on the Big 12 right now is that James Madison scored more points than you did. Tulane scored more points than you did in the college football playoff.
By the way, James Madison did it in a true road game, too.
James Madison scored more points in the college football playoff than like Alabama and the Texas Tech and who else? There were three power conference teams.
Alabama, Texas Tech, and Oregon in the semifinal.
Anyway,
team they lost to. Anyway, probably someone else.
So look, an expanded college football playoff format.
Texas A&M. That's who you're
that's
thinking
right.
of.
An expanded college football playoff format is good for the Big 12 conference as long as there's some level of guarantees. Otherwise, it's going to have to be pull yourself up by your bootstraps, make it undeniable, have a one-loss conference runner-up. Like, this year it's possible because Texas Tech, who we think is going to be a really good team again, Texas Tech does not have any remarkably tough regular season matchups, at least on paper, right? So let's say that just like this year, Texas Tech's the best team in the conference and BYU's the second best team in the conference. You need for BYU to head into that conference championship game as a one-loss or undefeated team.
I would say probably undefeated, so if and when they lose, they only have one loss on their resume, right?
I think the thing that really killed BYU this year is that they lost twice to the same team. So you could easily say, well, we know that one team in the Big 12 is a playoff caliber team, and that's Texas Tech. And BYU, we now have established on multiple occasions, is not good enough to hang with the playoff caliber team like Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And that's why it was easy to keep them out. If your second loss is to a team that you didn't face in the regular season, you could probably do some mental gymnastics to get a team in. And they did that for Alabama. They did it for the Crimson Tide. They're not going to do it for Big 12 teams. So that decision to remain at 12 teams is most relevant to Utah and is most relevant to BYU and to all the other Big 12 teams because you get one spot at the table. You're guaranteed your one. You're going to get that one spot at the table. But this year, you got to win the conference championship if you want to be invited to the college football playoff. And I have said I don't really have a huge problem with that because it's kind of weird that Miami didn't even play in their conference championship game and then ended up in the national championship. It's strange that Ohio State didn't win the Big Ten last year but won the national championship. Like, it's odd to me, and that path is less direct out of the Big 12 than anywhere else. I'm okay with it being that way. Next year, it's going to be an ACC champ. They won't have a strange year like they did this year. It'll not be Miami was actually in the standings because of the tiebreakers. Weren't they like fifth place?
Yeah,
in the ACC standings.
They're like tied for third, but fifth, or maybe even tied for second, but fifth place is with how the tiebreakers shook out. Yeah, a side note on this, we gotta make the tiebreakers a lot less complicated. I think that's the only way that Duke made it in last year, and you know what? To their credit, they didn't just make it in; they won the championship game. So good for them. But like, I believe it was Shahan Jayaraja with us a little after conference championship weekend said the American just their tiebreaker is whatever the two highest ranked teams by the college football playoff committee.
And that we saw with the ACC, they got their best team in for Miami, right? It would have been better for the ACC if you didn't have Duke as your eventual champion.
Absolutely, and it would have been better if Miami had played Virginia and won the ACC, and that's how they got in, obviously.
Although, I mean, if you're a Hurricanes fan, you're just like, well, we were able to get in without having to risk that game. So, in any case, 12 teams will remain in the college football playoff. We'll take a quick break here. We'll come back. Ben Kerr, his movie, Stand Out, the Ben Kerr story, real life, true story, biopic about one of the finest athletes to come out of the state of Utah, wrestling All-American at UVU, 3-time state champion wrestler at Viewmont High School. My friend Ben Kerr is now the featured person in a movie from Angel Studios, premiering today. You can see it at your Megaplex theaters, at theaters nationwide, but certainly statewide. We'll talk with him on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show on a Friday. It's Utah's number one sports talk, ESPN 792.1 FM. And I'm very excited about this next conversation because my friend, my real-life friend, Ben Kerr, is having a moment culturally in the sports world. We need to wrap our arms around this. We need to embrace this for a lot of reasons because American folk-style wrestling is on the rise. And, of course, every athlete from our community, when we can make sure that the best things happen for them, we should do so. And that means you need to get some tickets, some movie tickets to Stand Out, the Ben Kerr story, a brand new movie about my friend, former Viewmont Viking, former UVU Wolverine, Ben Kerr. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Guys, I am so excited to be here. Let's go.
Before we get into your story and this movie about your life, we talk about the former Corner Canyon, now Weber State head football coach, Eric Kerr. Are you guys related? Are you distant relations? Do you know?
You know, probably back in the days of the Vikings in Denmark, where we're from. But since then, we're it's a distant relation for sure.
All right. It would be too good of a story if one of the great coaches in high school football and now hopefully college football in our state and one of the great wrestlers in the history of our state were actually like cousins or something like that. I had my fingers crossed for it, and you just ruined it. But that's fine, Ben, because we're here to talk about this. Man, I know you've been doing a whole junket of interviews. I know that you've answered a lot of these questions already, but a movie about you, about your life, about your trials, about your triumphs. When did the seed get planted? When did this thing start? How long has this process taken?
Brother, it's interesting, right? I think all of us are living our own story. And whether that becomes a movie or a book or just something that people learn from. It started when I was young, but 4 years ago, I get a call from T.C. Christensen, who's done Cokeville Miracle, Fighting Preacher, as late as like Raising the Bar, Alma Richard's Story, Escape from Germany. He teamed up with his son Tanner, who's done a ton of stuff, and it's his first time directing. And they bring on iconic producer as well, Jared Hess, who did Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, and right now he's filming the second Minecraft movie in New Zealand. And so when these guys came to me and they said, Ben, we want to do a movie about you, I was like, come on. Now, I had been approached before by like the Discovery Channel and some other outlets. It didn't feel right. I asked them, I said, guys, if you were to do this movie, what would it portray? Because it's about me, right? This is a legacy play. And they said this, and this is what absolutely won me over, and it felt right. They said, Ben, have you seen the movie Wonder? And I have. The movie Wonder is about the kid with the facial difference, right? Owen Wilson and Julia Roberts in that movie are phenomenal. They said, imagine that little boy Augie turns into Rocky Balboa. And that was it, brother. The Wonder to the Rocky movement. That's what won me over. He said, but this is the kicker. Imagine if both of those were real stories. And that was it, dude. That's how we bring the You Stand Out, the Ben Care story.
And look, it's an incredible story. Now, those of us, my first encounter, by the way, for everyone out there listening, my first encounter with Ben Care was through high school wrestling. We graduated the same year of high school. We were at some tournament up north, and the Jordan High team that year, we had a couple really incredible wrestlers, myself not included, but our team goes up to this tournament, and that's the first time I saw Ben Care, this short little fire hydrant of a dude that is an absolute monster wrestler. And I was like, I wonder what that guy's story is. And now we get a movie of it. He became eventually UVU's first ever wrestling All-American. I imagine the film does its best to portray kind of every step along the road. But when they came to you and when they were like, all right, this is how we're going to tell it. I mean, the story goes all the way back to your early childhood, goes back to family and things like that. How willing were the people in your life, were your siblings, your parents, your coaches, everyone to kind of be part of this project and to help tell this story?
More willing than you would imagine, and that's what makes the story, brother. I remember the producers coming in and doing all these interviews, and they came out and they're like, oh my gosh, this makes sense. You have phenomenal people in your corner, and that's it, brother. We all call our shot. We all shoot for something. We all shoot for our aspirations and goals, but it's who I call my shot callers, the ones that help me call my shot in my corner. I have a lot of good ones. But here's the most important thing, man. There's a huge debate in the basketball world. Who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? Whoever knows. But I do know this. More humans connect with Michael Jordan than LeBron James, and this is why I bring that up, because my story starts from day one. You'll see that I'll be a first ever All-American, a world champion, all that stuff. But why do they connect with Michael Jordan probably over LeBron James? because LeBron James got in the NBA right out of high school. Michael Jordan didn't make the high school team. When you go and see the film Stand Out, you'll see Ben Kerr get absolutely annihilated and beat up for years. Everyone in the game of life, you don't go in being a LeBron James and not losing. Everyone in life goes in losing. The problem is, because we have a fear of failure and the fear of not being enough, we stop trying. Stand Out, the Ben Kerr story, talks about the people who fell and get back up and do it again. I call it being disobedient to average. The challenge is for all listeners out there, disobey average, baby. You ain't born to be average. You ain't born to fit in. You're born to stand out.
I love that. Disobedient to average. I printed on a T-shirt. Let's make that a thing for all of us. Why wrestling, Ben? I mean, there's a lot of sports that someone with your athleticism can excel in, right? That probably would have been easier on your ego, probably would have been easier on your body. You'd have to tell me maybe easier on your face and your facial structure. There's a lot of sports that you don't have to get beat up. And you chose to excel in the hardest one, the nastiest one, the most grueling one that doesn't offer a whole lot of glory even when you're great at it like you were. So why was wrestling the perfect one for you?
Bro, I did everything. That's what my parents did real well. They put me in everything just to try to figure out where I could find confidence. That is the issue today. Kids, adults that don't have confidence. I don't care what you're going through. Confidence is the key. Wrestling gave me something that I could control. I love football. I love soccer. I love basketball. I love baseball. I played them all. But you know what's hard about those sports? You can't control the quarterback. You can't control the pitcher, and it affects you. I was so done with stuff that I couldn't control, like Cruzon syndrome, which is what I was born with, which is a facial difference where I had to have a ton of reconstructive facial surgeries. I was so done with not controlling something. I needed a sport that I can control. That was wrestling. I'm also just like the smallest dude, right? I'm 42 years old, 5'3", 140 pounds, soaking wet. I needed something that I could weigh in and fight guys my height, my size. Wrestling did that. And so I chose to be disobedient to average. When I disobeyed average, it meant this. My coach told me to do 20 push-ups. I'm like, I ain't average. Wrestling gives away one medal at the end of the tournament, and it doesn't go to the person who does average. So you better believe when he told me to do 20, I did 25, I did 30. And when I did that, I gained confidence. And as you gain confidence, you learn to win the match before you ever have to step on the mat.
Ben Kerr is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. The movie about him, about his life, about his triumphs in the wrestling world and the trials that he had to overcome in order to reach that championship level is out today. Go, don't win a ticket from me. Go buy a ticket. Support Ben. Support the producers and the directors in the studio that brought this inspirational story to life on the big screen. So far, 100% Rotten Tomatoes. All right. I know it's a limited release right now, but everyone that we've talked to, that we've heard from, that we've read about, that has seen this movie, it seems like the reception is probably what you would hope it is. What have you been hearing from the people that have watched it and that have reached out to you?
Brother, coming into this, you didn't know what to expect, right? And I remember my producer saying, Ben, we got one goal. That's to make a movie that people want to share and come back to again and again and again. And so at that point, our goal was to touch every kid who's 5 years old to every human that's 95 years old that rolls in on the wheelchair. The other day, I was in a screening. I was about ready to take the microphone. The credits were rolling. As you guys watch the film, by the way, don't leave the credits. The movie's not done. There's a little surprise at the end. This guy gets up out of his seat. He's about 65 years old. I don't know the guy. And he starts walking out of when the credits are showing. And I'm like, hey, it's not done yet. And he puts his head up. He grabs my shoulders, and he's bawling. He said, Ben, I've never laughed so hard and cried so much in one movie. Thank you so much. I had that from a kid from Wyoming send me a video who saw a private screening up there. And in his own words, this little Wyoming cowboy kid said, "That's the best thing I've ever saw." And so, brother, I tell you what, I am just humbled. I'm blessed. I have people in my corner that have taken this story, and we've told it so raw, so blunt, so bold, that I don't care if you have a facial difference. I don't care if you have cauliflower ears like I do from wrestling. Everybody understands challenging times. Everybody understands obstacles in life. And everybody wants to know how to be victorious. And that's what this movie is. It's the recipe of just that.
Tell me about the actor who portrays young Ben Kerr in this film.
Brother, that's how you know, like, sometimes you go into these, you're like, oh my gosh, is this like, can this go bigger than me? And you have signs. You have things along the way that happen that are just like moments that make you feel that this is way bigger than you. We were within weeks of filming, and we searched the world. Every nonprofit organization, facial difference organization, we could not find a younger Ben. If Cruzon syndrome wasn't enough to be rare enough, we couldn't find someone that like acted like me. And there were no professional actors. Like the kid who played Augie, I've spoken on stage with him. He's a normal-looking kid. They had to do crazy makeup to make him look like that in the movie Wonder. I get a call or a message on social media from the Fielding family within weeks before we film, and I get this message: "Ben, we've been watching you for 6 months. Come to our house for dinner. I want to introduce you to my child who has Cruzon syndrome." Not thinking another thought, we show up. There opens the door the Fielding family, Jordan and Annalie, incredible humans, and there is Colton Fielding, 5 years old, blonde hair, Cruzon syndrome, bigger energy than life. And in that moment, nervous as all get out, I ask his parents if they would be open to being a part of this movie. His mom, Annalie, looks over to the husband, Jordan, and emotionally looks at him and says, "This all makes sense now." She looks back at me and she says, "Ben, for months we've been trying to get a surgery, whether through insurance or health or whatever. We haven't been able to get a reconstructive facial surgery booked for him, and he needs it. We would absolutely love to do this." We go through filming. He absolutely kills it. Right after filming's done, he successfully gets admitted to getting his surgery. And now he doesn't look the same. The filming would have been different. The way he looked would have been different. And, brother, when you see the film, you'll see this kid shine. There's a Colton Fielding. There's a Ben Kerr. There's a little Sean in every single seat out there. And our goal is to make them feel like they can do anything in life. And we're getting that feedback, and it means the world.
Was there any part of the story, your story, that you had a hard time being willing to tell? I've seen a lot of your speaking. I've seen a lot of the posts that go out with the movie and things like that. Tearjerker of a story of when you were not feeling real good about yourself as a young kid and trying to pray away the Cruzon syndrome, and how your mom had to tell you the reasons for these things and bring you back down to earth a little bit and tell you that you're not meant to blend in and you're supposed to stand out. And that's an emotional thing, even for someone like me, just to hear. You lived it, Ben. Was there any part of this that you were reluctant to have told?
Yeah, brother. One of the most difficult things was talking about my difficulties as an adult. And I had gotten over the confidence I received, right, through wrestling and being a champion wrestler. I had overcome what I thought was Cruzon syndrome. But I didn't know how to be loved. I didn't know if I could ever be loved, bro. I didn't know if another woman would. I didn't know if someone would be able to love me. Understanding that Cruzon syndrome is 50% of my genes would be potentially having Cruzon syndrome. And I found a woman that when I told her about, if you get married to me and we have kids, 50% chance that we will have Cruzon syndrome kids. And so she went home and she studied it. And I'm like away from her. I'm like, she's going to come back and she's not going to accept this. And this will be a deal killer for her. And in life, I think we all just want connection. I think we all want love. I think we all want to be accepted, especially by the one you feel like you love, right? And she was the one I loved, Nicole. And she comes back, she says this, dude. She says, Ben, who better to raise kids with Cruzon syndrome than you and me? And brother, like, oh my gosh, that changed my life. A beautiful woman who could have probably any guy, and her decide to decide to choose me. This Cruzon syndrome man who's had people in public make fun of him still to this day, and her stand up for everything with purpose and say, you're mine. And man, when you have someone like that in your corner, that's everything.
That's a beautiful story. That's incredible. And I'm glad it's part of your story. You're an inspirational guy. I'm glad that this movie is out. I'm glad we have an opportunity to see more of the story. I'm gonna learn things about you I don't know by watching this movie. I'm looking forward to that. I love that you gave another young man, a little kid with Cruzon syndrome, an opportunity to be a movie star, because I imagine that's not a very typical thing. And what a cool spreading the blessings and spreading the wealth of the success that you've had. Tell me more about your parents and your mom and your dad, and how they helped you to overcome the challenges while you were being raised with. I mean, for you, it's a facial difference. There's people out there with, genetic amputation. There's people out there who have children with other birth defects, whatever, that, these kids, they're in school with our kids, or they are our kids. And all of us hope that these young people grow up to be Ben Cares, to be triumphant, to overcome these challenges, and to overcome the difficulties and maybe some of the lack of confidence that comes with them. So tell me more about the role your parents played in helping you do that.
The name of the movie happened from one moment. There was a time, I'm not going to tell too much of the story because it's going to be absolutely so well delivered in the film, but there's a moment where in the grocery store in a public space, when I was alone picking up what I felt like was my favorite candy bar, I got verbally annihilated by an adult. I go home and I find myself thinking, Ben, if you could just remove your face, the difference, you'll be fine. Life will be better. I go in the bathroom and I start thinking of ways to remove my face. Luckily, before anything was decided, my mom came breaking in through the door like a good mom does, melted on me. We cried together. I told her everything. She stands me up in front of the mirror. She says, Ben, you're different because you're born to make a difference. And Ben, attention's going to come. People beg for this stuff. You won't need to because you look different. So in that moment, you are not born to fit in. You were born to stand out. That's where the title came about. That's my mom. God created that woman to come down and be my mom. My father knew that wrestling could be an absolute foundation for me to build off of. So he would take me to these tournaments and just watch me get beat up. You'll see it in the film. There's a moment where I'm crying on the mat after I lose, and he goes and picks me up and helps me to the middle. At the end of the tournament, when I was not on the podium because I wasn't good, he points to the podium in my weight division as everyone was getting their hardware and they're happy, and I'm sitting there sulking next to him. He pulls my chin up and he points at my chest. He's like, Ben, as he points to the podium, you belong on that podium, but you got to do the work. And I'm here to come to every single thing you have. I'm your biggest fan. My dad, before the tournaments, would look at me and say, you're the champion. You're the one that deserves this. You disobey average. Let's go get it. It's people like that believe in you way before you. It's my wife that way before I was an All-American, before sleep, she would nudge me as I'm almost asleep in bed, and she said, Ben, I forgot to tell you something. I'm the luckiest woman to be married to Utah Valley University's first future NCAA All-American. It's people that speak life into your life. It's people that speak dreams into your dreams. It's people that go before you and pave the way. And they are there with you in the fight during the darkest of moments and believe in you, that make you achieve. These are the people that stand out in my life, and they're the one that make the movie.
Are you watching RAF? For people out there who don't know, Real American Freestyle is right now, it's a professional organization for actual Olympic-style, collegiate-style wrestling that's new, and it's on Fox Nation, and it's become kind of a thing that is I don't know. I think it's helping the sport out a lot. Are you watching? What do you think?
Of course I'm watching. Come on, man. This is the most successful launch. They've tried this before. This is the most successful launch that they've ever had at what is pro wrestling. And I love it. I love the people that are showing up. Nobody in life, it's the same with my movie. It's the same with you and what you're doing. Nobody in life gets anywhere without people occupying the seats and supporting, right? I love it. I have people like the Bo Bassett's of the world, the Clay Guidas, like I have the Caden Henschels, the Kamaru Usmans who give me testimonials of my film. They're all a part of RAF. I love what they're doing, brother. I think it's so great for the sport. I think it's great for the world, because more people need to know that doing hard things is freaking awesome. And we need to applaud doing hard things.
So when this movie takes off and that Rotten Tomatoes score stays up high even after thousands and millions of people have seen it, and RAF makes a phone call to Ben Kerr's agent and says, hey, I know he's 42, but we've had guys that age and older on our RAF mats. Tell Ben we want him in 3 months or in 6 months or a year. Will we see you wrestling competitively again, potentially?
Dude, I competed in the World Championships a year ago. Heck yeah. And I've already been in touch. Without saying too much, I've had a couple people. That'll be exciting when that happens, man. And if it happens, it'll be exciting and it'll be fun. And I tell you what, here's how I look at it. And then here's how I look at life, because you can never guarantee a win, but you can guarantee how you show up. I had a coach tell me one time, he's like, Ben, screw winning, screw losing. Here's what I want you to do. Make sure that after that match, nobody wants to wrestle Ben Kerr ever again. And if we go in life with that mentality, not fear of failure, not fear of being enough, not freezing up because you're afraid that you're going to lose in front of everyone, but that you go out there like David against Goliath and you pick up the stones and you spit in fear's eyes, not once but twice, because you give him reaction time to make sure that you ain't going anywhere. That's how I'm going to show up, baby. And that's what we're doing. We're going against the Paramount Pictures. We're going against the Sonys. We're going against Hollywood, baby. And those avatars better watch out because I'm coming for the chokehold, and we're going guns blazing, baby.
Well, a true story, a real story, one inspirational as yours is going to be a lot more fun to watch anyway. You can get your tickets. Stand Out, the Ben Care story is out today. Megaplex Theaters, Crossroads, Cinemark here in Utah. Go find yourself a ticket and watch the story of our guy right here. Lived, trained, lives, trains. This is a Utah cat that has one of the best stories you're ever going to find, and now there's a movie about his life. Ben Care, my friend, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the message you send. I appreciate the example you set. Thanks so much for joining us on the show today. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm going to buy a ticket. I appreciate the invitations to the screenings and all that. I'm going to buy a ticket to support, and I'll let you know what I think, all right?
Well, Sean, if people out there want to support and they're trying to look where they're at, guys, we're nationwide. We're in theaters from Alaska all the way to Philadelphia and in between. If you want to find out if it's close to you, go to standoutfilm.com. Standoutfilm.com. I have like 5-6 screenings that I'm going to be at today. We have people that are showing up for around the world. Today's the day. 1, 2, 3, stand out, January 23rd. Sean, you're one of those standout humans, brother. Thanks for being in my corner.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. Ben Care, standoutfilm.com. Go see his movie, Ben Care, the former UVU Wolverine and Viewmont Viking, one of the best wrestlers ever from the state of Utah, and we have some good ones. Airing of Grievances is next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. 877-353-0700. That's how you get a hold of us for airing of grievances. You can also tweet at me at RealOCSports. Love to have you get it off your chest. Just tell me what's bothering you, what you want to grieve about, what you want to gripe about, what you don't like. (877-353-0700). If you don't have plans this weekend, I'm going to make them for you right now, okay? Big Willie's has a watch party going on for the Utah Mammoth game. They're going to be giving away signed jerseys. They're going to be giving away a signed hockey stick. You got to go in. You got to hop into the raffle. There's now 2 raffles for you to participate in. The Mammoth game day raffle for Saturday when you're at Big Willie's at 1717 South Main. And then if you say, oh, by the way, I heard about this on the Sean O'Connell show, they're going to put your name in the raffle for 2 tickets for a February 4th game against the Detroit Red Wings, where you're going on the Big Willie's tickets. You're going on Patrick and Michelle's tickets. It'll be an 8th row spot, Toyota Club. It's the fancy stuff, all right? You're going to want to go. Big Willie's will have AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game, and any other sporting event you could possibly imagine. They've got the VIP room upstairs, a craft food menu, drink specials every single day that are well below average prices, not only from 2026, but from 2006. They are charging less for premium alcohols on the daily specials than you could have got 20 years ago. That's not an exaggeration. I was bartending 20 years ago. I know what those shots were costing, and it's more than Big Willie's is charging now. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. So 1717 South Main, tell them OC sent you. They'll put your name in the raffle for a couple of tickets. Out to the text line we go for a couple grievances. This from Curtis Bingham. Grievance: I dislike restaurants that charge extra for basic items, especially with the base price already high. I had a tasty Japanese-inspired ramen in Salt Lake City for about $20. But adding a soft-boiled egg cost $2.50. Green onions were $1.50, and 3 slices of meat were another $4, so it was almost $30. Okay. I'm not going to call out an individual business by name because it's not in the text here, but that is ridiculous. If just the broth and noodles is $20 and you have to pay $2.50, even with the exorbitant price of eggs, you cannot justify a soft-boiled egg for $2.50. That is ridiculous. And by the way, I might pay $4 extra for extra meat, but $1.50 for green onions? What are we doing here? If you own a ramen restaurant and you're charging extra for the things that should already be in your ramen, can't get on board with that. Curtis, that is a valid grievance, and I will echo it for you. Grievance with how many times the phrase proof of concept is used on this channel. All right, I'm guilty of that probably. However, I'm pretty sure I didn't use it today. I don't know if I used it yesterday, which means, correct me if I'm wrong, this is really sticking in your craw. This is something that's been bothering you for some time. Too much proof of concept being used on the Sean O'Connell show probably, but also on this channel. Interesting. I'm going to need you to specifically cite the last time that I used proof of concept, okay? Because I don't think it was today. Valid grievance, though. Alec from Vineyard, a caller wanting to air a grievance. I like it. Alec, what's your grievance?
Hey, Sean. So, it's the beginning of the year, and that's why it's happening. But I swear, every single morning when I go to the gym and I am in the sauna to finish my session, some guy in there is taking a business call, acting like he's closing a deal and running, this multi-level marketing company, and just being overly loud and obnoxious while we're all trying to relax and just get a good start to our day. It's over the top. No one needs to hear it.
100% that is a valid grievance. Now, I have to ask you, when this is happening, do you ever say, excuse me, this is not the place for that? Have you ever tried it?
I've tried tried to bring it up once or twice, but apparently their AirPods are just too loud and they want to sound important, so they ignore me.
All right. Well, I would say that you absolutely have to do the work for society and say that. Next time it happens to you, all right, I'll be your backup. You let me know. I'll come down and I will walk into the sauna with you and I'll be like, look, you cannot, this is a grievance for society. You cannot do this here, sir. Thank you for that. That is a valid grievance. And by the way, it's not just saunas at the gym, which is one of the most absurd places you could do it. At the gym at all, you should not be having public private conversations. You know what I'm talking about. AirPods in, talking full volume. Now, if you have to take a phone call in public, that's totally fine. All right? But there's this magic that is built into your cell phone. Do you know what it is? It's a microphone right there at the bottom where your mouth is anyway, which means you can have a conversation, you can get your point across in a low volume that doesn't disturb the people around you because you're speaking into a microphone, and that's going to come through loud and clear to the person on the other end of the phone call. But you don't have to talk like this on your cell phone call, on the shuttle bus at the airport, sitting at the gate at the airport, on the airplane itself, in the sauna at the gym, in the squat rack at the gym. You just don't need to do it. Walking around pushing your cart in the grocery store. Guess what? You can still have that conversation. You just don't need to be doing it at full volume. We don't want to hear it. And by the way, you don't want people to hear it either, because if people are eavesdropping, you don't like it. So just stop being idiots.
Well, don't the AirPods or whatever earbuds you have, if you have an Android phone or whatever, they got good Android version of earbuds too. Aren't they sophisticated enough microphones you could talk at just a normal level too?
Yeah. Now I understand why when you're using AirPods, your tendency is to think, well, I better talk louder
because it's not right next to my mouth.
It's not right next to my mouth. But
I
guess
think
what?
I think they can pick it up anyway.
Yeah, they can. And stop just being like. I've told this story on the air before, months ago, when I was sitting at the gate at like midnight about to get on a flight, and the guy was doing exactly this. He was having this loud conversation, and he got real huffy and mad when I was like, hey, excuse me, next time you should go somewhere else, or next time you should take your AirPods out.
Just talk quieter.
He was bothered. He was really, really bothered. And I'm like, that's fine. Be bothered at me. I'm doing you a favor too, because everyone here in the sauna, everyone here at the gate, everyone here at the car dealership, whatever, they all think that you're a you-know-what, and I'm the one telling you, here's how you stop being that. So I don't mind being a little bit confrontational. I do it politely, but I don't mean being a little bit confrontational for the sake of that. And if you're the one, if your sauna etiquette is bad, by the way, do you know how many times I've been sitting in a sauna just feeling grouchy and miserable because I'm cutting weight? I can't tolerate bad sauna etiquette. The weird old guy that doesn't even put a towel down before his naked butt goes on, like, knock it off. It's disgusting. Grievance against all bad sauna etiquette.
Shout out to Alec for calling in too. You don't have to text us if you want to literally air your grievances in your own voice. Give us a call 877-353-0700.
Airing of grievances here from Jordan on the text line. Grievance with the Buffalo Bills for firing Sean McDermott. Just to interview Phillip Rivers. Who's next? Rudy, Michael Orr, Chad Powers? You can't be serious. Look, there's absolutely no world in which firing Sean McDermott and hiring Phillip Rivers, who has no NFL coaching experience. He has plenty of NFL experience, but no NFL coaching experience. There's absolutely no world in which that is an upgrade. And I've always thought that if you're going to fire a good coach, you better have a great coach or a potentially great coach in mind. Now, there might be some locker room dynamics and politics at play here, but it didn't seem that way with the Buffalo Bills and with the player reaction to McDermott's firing and things like that. So I think this is just a grievance-worthy issue of not doing the right thing for your team. And Jordan, I'll co-sign your grievance, even though you don't need me to. I've got a grievance with Kamchatka. You familiar with Kamchatka?
Yeah, or as I used to say, playing Risk, Kamchatka.
Yeah, nope, it's Kamchatka.
Kamchatka.
Everyone knows Kamchatka only from the Risk board game.
Yeah, or if recently they were in Kamchatka in season 4 of Stranger Things, the Russian prison.
Oh, that's right.
So there might be some people that know it from that too.
And they probably put that in Stranger Things because Risk was very popular.
Exactly.
In any case, Risk was the Kamchatka territory in Risk was the one in that northeastern tip of the Asia continent that had the little hyphen bridge that could take you across to attack North America. All right?
Attack Alaska, yeah.
But now here's what's happening. Kamchatka's hogging all the snow. Have you seen this?
I've not seen this.
Between 7 and 8 feet of snow fell on Kamchatka, Russia this week.
And it is fair. It's pretty close to Alaska. We didn't get any in.
I'm sure there's snow in Alaska, but
didn't get that much in Alaska.
Like record snowfall, which in Siberia is a big deal if you have a record.
Yeah.
The visuals on this are absolutely insane. Now, some of them have been AI generated, so make sure you go to like actual news sources. But there are people that are jumping out of their second floor windows into snowbanks because that's how high the snow has piled up. It's how high it has drifted. And if you had a storm that delivered 7 feet of snow, that's insane. They've also got another storm coming this week, so they're going to be buried again. But we're getting nothing, and I'm kind of okay with having a mild winter. But, man, Kamchatka, you're stealing all the snow.
We do need the moisture around here, though. So I'm okay with it from, like, obviously I don't want to be freezing cold, but it does, back of my head, I'm like, what kind of consequences we have for having, like, no snow, no rain in the wintertime? Makes me a little nervous.
9708 says, my buddy and I golfed with a random twosome one day last year. They continually talked about large stock dividends, MLM job opportunities, etc. People do this as part of a long play scheme or scam. So you're telling me Sauna Guy is talking loud on his headphones, just be like, yeah, okay, send $1.5 million over there, and so that someone will ask him when he gets off the phone call, hey, what do you do for work? I'd like to do that. Oh, well, I have an opportunity for you. If you just get on my downline, things are going to work out nicely.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's terrible.
Do you have any grievances you'd like to air before the weekend, James?
Well, I have one in general with all MLMs. Anyone considering joining an MLM, tell the person who's asking you to go, you know what, themselves. You are not, never do it, okay? I had two parents, both my parents tried multiple MLMs. It nearly left us destitute. Do not do it. I'm very anti-MLM.
Oh, so this is like a serious...
This is a very serious personal thing for me. Just all due respect, I am never going to be interested in what you got for me, MLM guy. But lighter thing here. Yeah, I have a grievance against. So we did the PGA Tour leaderboard updates brought to you by You Into Golf. A couple of them today. You used to be able to just Google projected cut line, and then you go to the PGA Tour website, and then it gives you a projected cut line.
Okay,
right? You may have to scroll a little bit because they got other stories in there. Today, I Google projected cut line, and the top link is from the same American Express Classic from 2022.
No, that's not. No, you cannot bring me old stuff.
So I almost aired the wrong thing. Thank goodness the number was way off compared to what the scores were today, or I might have actually erroneously said, hey, the cut line is this, and you know, a couple of our Utah golfers are way below that. Like, come on, PGA Tour. Let's get a better way of delivering us the projected cut line here on a Friday.
The airing of grievances is sponsored by Nano's Bagelry, real New York style bagels and schmears, and as you hear them say on the commercial, sandwiches. Best bagels this side of the 5 boroughs. That's down at Union Square in Sandy. All right. There's one special grievance I will have to air after we take a break because it's a grievance about Spence Checketts, and he loves those. Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All right, wrapping things up here on the Sean O'Connell Show. The Drive and Spence Checketts are next. We got a grievance against Spence Checketts saying he will not willingly travel south of 33rd in the Valley. People don't like that, Spence. When I say people, I mean at least one person.
Hello, Sean. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Everything south of 33rd is Provo.
Don't say that.
Everything south of 33rd is Utah County.
That's not true.
Well, in my mind, that's how it works. I cross 33rd. I'm like, where's the swig? Okay, where's Cosmo? I am now in Utah County.
Sandy might be the most ideal place on planet Earth, and that's right around 90th to 106th.
Sandy is Spanish Fork. Let's be
that's geographically incorrect.
Draper is Lehigh.
Okay.
Harriman is American Fork.
If Draper is Lehigh, why would Sandy, which is closer to Salt Lake City, be Spanish Fork, which is further away?
My point is, it's all the same. What else? Daybreak is Springville. I don't know any. Okay. I go south of 33rd, and I'm like, I'm in a different state.
Okay. Interesting.
I will only drive south of 33rd for one thing.
Remotes.
Two things. Fair enough. No, I am and I'm known among my friends as this too. I'm just a Salt Lake City snob. I will stay centralized. I had an 8-minute drive to work today. It was lovely. My grocery store is 2 blocks from my house.
Uh-huh.
I don't need to go north or south for anything at all.
All right.
I will go north or south for, well, 2 things now, as you brought it up. Remotes.
What's the other one?
No, let's move on. If a restaurant opens, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
May I chime? A great topic.
By the way, Charles Sorensen agrees with you. I hate to agree with Spence, but his geography is spot on.
Okay, why do you hate to agree with Spence? Let's start there.
Well,
Spence is a pretty smart guy.
Not on this front.
Fair enough. Thank you, Charles.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. Look, the texture brings up a valid point, and if you live south of 33rd, it's St. George. Everything south of 33rd is everything south of the state, and it is a me problem. Okay, you live in Washington, whatever that place is called down south. If you're south of 33rd, you are you're Saratoga Springs to me. It's all the same.
All right. Wow.
I can't lie. The texture brings up a very fair grievance, so I can't argue with it.
All right. I've been told that you actually are AirPods in, talk too loud in public guys.
I very much am not, but I do have a story. It's such a great topic. First of all, there's a guy at my gym, and you know me, Sean. If I'm at the gym, I'm there to move weight, bro.
Yeah.
Russian, reverse flies. Yeah. I mean, I'm there to move weight. I'm not there to mess around.
Yeah. Sound the lunk alarm when Spence Checketts walks in.
Thank you. Dumbbell swings, the whole thing. The kettlebell, 65 pounds at least to warm up, okay?
Okay, great.
And look, if you see me and you want tips, I'm a nice guy. Come up and ask, and we'll go over your form, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a gym bro at my gym, almost on the daily, earpods in, talking super loud. He'll be like, hey, hold on, I got to hit this rep. And he'll do like 10 reps of a bench press, then get back on the phone. He's like, yeah, and he'll talk to whoever he's talking about, his workouts, his job that he's going to get to, his trading, whatever it is. He is the most, he drives me crazy on a daily basis. In the gym, AirPods in.
It is sociopathic behavior.
I'm with you. I completely agree.
And now I put some responsibility on you. Have you ever approached this man and just been like, this is not the place, dude.
No.
It's obnoxious for everyone else.
You're right. I should do that, and I can kick his ass. He's not one of those dudes that I'm afraid of. I can handle it.
Well, you could be nice about it, but like firm but kind.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, I see you all the time. Great job being in here consistently. This is not the place for us to have to listen to all your private conversations.
Yeah.
It's discourteous. People hate that word.
Because they probably feel seen. They probably realize that you're actually staring right into their soul. Funny story about this, though. When I heard you talking about it, it just reminded me of this, and still to this day. So my grandfather, may he rest in peace, was the sweetest man in the world. Lowell Leishman, my mother's father, sweetest man in the world. As he aged, a couple things happened. He stopped giving a you-know-what about anything. He was just going to say whatever he wanted. Wherever we went out to eat, he'd be like, hey, spaghetti and meatballs and a root beer. I'm like, we're at Crown Burger.
Well, you could get those at Crown Burger.
Wherever we were.
Bad grievance for you.
It didn't matter. We'd be at a Mexican restaurant, Chinese restaurant. Hey, spaghetti and meatballs and a root beer. That's all he wanted. Then he wanted chocolate ice cream for dinner.
That's so great.
And also, as he aged, his hearing started to go a little bit, as it does.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting at the airport. We're getting ready to get on a red eye to New York. And he used to put his headphones on and then play his chess game. It was his favorite thing to do. And I'm sitting next to him. And there's a gentleman sitting too close to us that may have been 450 pounds.
Maybe.
Respectfully.
Okay.
We all have our challenges, is what it is. And he is sitting there, and I don't, maybe it was McDonald's, it was a burger, it was something he got at the airport. And he's aggressively eating this before we get on the plane. And my grandpa looks up, and he goes, and for some odd reason, my nickname that my grandfather bestowed upon me as a 2-year-old was Doobie.
Okay.
Take that for what it was. This is an LDS man that has never seen a joint in his life.
Clairvoyant.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, so I get to high school, it's like, you want one of these? I'm like, I guess I have to say yes. It's my nickname since I was 2. But this is an LDS man who has no clue what he's calling me, but my nickname, and for a lot of my cousins, still, Spencer Doobie was my name. So he looks up from his chess game. He sees this guy sitting way too close to us, and he goes, Doobie, look how fat that guy is. And I'm like, and he puts his head down. The guy looks up at me with his hamburger. I'm like, dude, I am so sorry. Like, it was the meanest thing I've ever heard any human say. This poor guy, like, oh, man. I'm like, Grandpa, we can all hear you.
Oh, yes. Old people are agents of chaos.
Oh, yes.
It's like there's this time in the middle of your life from age like 5 to I think it's about 80 where you are held accountable for the things that you say.
Yeah.
But previous to 5 and after 80,
oh, yeah.
lawless.
And also very genuine. And by the way, genuinely curious about people that were from other countries. And like no malice in this poor man. But we were at the Chinese restaurant up in Bountiful because he was from Bountiful. See, I go up north if my family's up there.
There you go. All right.
It's a very good spot.
The Mandarin.
The Mandarin. We're at the Mandarin. And this young lady who's an Asian woman comes to, serve on the table. And my grandpa stands up and he bows and he goes, "Konnichiwa, where are you from?" And she's like, "Denver." I'm like, "Grandpa, you have to stop doing this, please." But yeah, the loud talker with ear pod in public settings, that's just that. If you're that guy, I hope you feel seen today.
Spectacular. Thanks for airing your grievances. Thanks to everyone who listened to the show today. Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. We'll be back on Monday. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.